Dreams get realized, yet some turn into nightmares. In a world where the past intertwines with the present, a new story begins. The first chapter of the ESL R1 history book has been etched onto the pages of time. Another now has its turn. The ESL R1 2023 full season is on. Find your grip and get ready for the racing to be released.
And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the halfway mark. This is round number 4 here from the full season of ESL R1. As always, my name is Jasmine, and I'm super excited for us to skirt on into Nürburgring. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and welcome to join me on the broadcast here today, none other than Mr. Lewis McGlade. Lewis, homie, old pal, it's been a while since we've had a chit chat, hasn't it? How have you been?
Yeah, no, I've been really good, and I'm glad to be here for yet another round of ESL R1. Obviously not George Morgan, that's fine. Get out of here, sir. I enjoyed my round last week with Rory as well, but it is great to have you back. Obviously, a big happy birthday to you the other week, but I think we're gonna have some fun tonight.
All right, so spill the tea, Lewis. Tell me, what did I miss? What's the get-go? What does everybody need to be aware of? What happened?
You missed a lot. Crazy round last time I went racing at the Hockenheimring, of course. Victory for Maximilian Benneker, obviously after his drama back in Spa as well, where he won and then had it removed from race control. Big drama in semi-final 2. We saw Sebastian Job and Josh Rogers getting knocked out. We saw a slowdown penalty in the final for Dara McCormack, who was one of the favourites to win. We saw all 4 Mercedes get knocked out in the knockout phases, along with 3 other teams that had all 4 drivers gone. You missed an absolute barnstormer of a round.
It's honestly so typical, by the way, that all of these drivers, they bring out the emotion, they bring out the chaos and all of the drama when I'm not here to witness it all. But you know what, alas, we must move on. What happened for yesterday's knockout rounds?
Yeah, a little bit more of a tame one was the knockouts. It was quite hard to race, as classic thing with the Nürburgring. Most notable was that Mouse had all 4 drivers work their way through into the semi-final, so we'll see all of those out. Race victories for Marcel Cinchik, for Maximilian Benneker, for Kevin Siggy, we've not seen that for a while, and for Nikodem Wisniewski, who we last saw win, and the only time that we've seen him win was in the spring major at the Hockenheimring. So good to see him win in the main season as well. So big stories there.
Well, I'm super excited to see whether or not Mouse can keep up the incredibly strong performances so far. But today's broadcast, Lewis, we're going to have memes, we're going to have banter, we're going to have a whole load of racing, but we're also going to have some incredible interviews throughout as well. We're going to have the team manager from Furia joining us here on the broadcast, as well as Eamon Murphy representing G2 as well. So I'm super excited to hear a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes. But I do know that Mr. James Baldwin, he's not necessarily had the best of performances on the lead up to today, has he?
No, he's had a bit of a struggle of a season, but you know, sometimes that will happen. He finds himself going into this round outside of the top 24, which is what they're all aiming for if they want to make their way to Sweden. But we know he's a quality driver.
Well, let's go ahead and hear from James Baldwin himself to see how he's feeling ahead of the races today.
So it's Friday, which means it's ESL R1 semi-final and final day for round 4 at the Nürburgring, which is my favourite track this series does. Out of the four tracks, this is my favourite one. Yesterday was an okay day. It was a really bad performance from myself in qualifying, really bad quali lap, and then an okay race. I scraped through in 5th, and then Bono came through in 2nd in his one, so that means me and Bono will be in semi-final 2 today for Mercedes, which is going to be really good. The pace is really strong. I think we've got really good pace. It's just delivering it when it matters is just so difficult for everyone. But yeah, so anyone can win tonight. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I guess it was my birthday yesterday, so I turned 26, which, you know, maybe I lost a couple of tenths overnight with the old age. Maybe, who knows? That's always a concern. Hopefully not. Maybe I'm overthinking that. But yeah, it should be good. Looking to get through the semi-final, into the final, and then run at the front. I know it's possible. Just need to do it when it matters. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, a very happy belated birthday to James Baldwin there as well. Has he lost a few tenths off the pace, do you think? Aging a little bit? Is that a real thing? No?
No.
All right, I'm confident he'll be able to close things out today, maybe, just maybe. But how about Apex Racing Team? Because they've certainly been giving us a great performance so far. Currently 7th in our team championship standings.
Yeah, I think they started out quite strong in Katowice, obviously at the start of last season, then kind of dropped off a little bit. Their move into the Mercedes, one of their factory teams, been a really, really good step. They look strong, they look consistent. Of course, Kevin Ellis Jr. took a victory in the knockouts last week. This time had to settle for third, but they do have Jamie Fluke and Johan Harth working their way through into the semi-finals. The only driver missing from the semis from them is Elvis Rankin, who, to be fair to him, was still 7th, so on that right cusp, the cut-off line. So it's actually really, really solid for the Apex Racing Team.
Well, I want to go ahead and check in and see how Jamie was actually feeling after the performance that we saw from him. So let's go ahead and find out.
Yeah, so today was a pretty good day for the team overall. We've got 3 of us through to the semi-finals, and Elvis even getting P7 in his knockout is useful, valuable points for us moving forward. So given the hesitations moving into this particular round, I think we're all quite pleased with how it's went. So Kev was 3rd, Johan 4th, and myself 6th out of my knockout. So we get to do it all over again tomorrow. So yeah, looking forward to it. There's plenty more pace in all of us as well to try and show. So yeah, we're excited to get stuck in.
I'm telling you, dude, as soon as I come back is when the emotion just goes out of the window. Because I think that he's just given us a really great performance so far. But who I really want to be focusing in on is the side of R8G, currently in the lead and dominating the competition, might I add, in our team championship standings. Talk to me about this lineup.
Yeah, obviously quite similar to the Apex Racing Team in the sense of they actually have 3 drivers in today, Yuri Tome and Marcel Chinchik, who was victorious yesterday, and Erhan Yovski working their way through. Thibaut Casbon, unfortunately not after some slowdown shenanigans in qualifying. We'll discuss that a little bit more. But it puts them at the top of the team standings because, like you're saying, they have had an unreal start to this season. In the first 3 rounds coming into this round, they had basically a 200-point lead. That's almost double over the next team. Of course, points have been scored a little bit from the knockout races. Portugal kind of closed up a little bit, but for me, R8G, they're almost out of reach, genuinely, already, and we're only 3 rounds into a championship.
Well, behind every fantastic team, Lewis, there is an astounding team manager as well. So let's go ahead and check in with Mehdi, representing R8G.
Hello, this is Mehdi from R8G. I have been on the real tracks for the first part of the season of ESL R1, but I've been following all the events ever since the beginning, and I can only say that I'm really proud of my drivers for the performance they have been doing ever since race 1. Glad to see that we're continuing on the performances from the fall season, and hopefully we can strengthen the gap even further for the next few races, and let's see how it goes.
Who knows, it might very well be R8G on top, and I'm super excited to see how the boys are going to be performing on the track. But let's go ahead and visit our semi-final 1 driver lineup. What can you tell me about some of these fantastic names? Obviously, Max Beneke is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, our Gamers 8 Drivers Champion, of course. Marcel Chinchik, our Spring Season Drivers Champion. This both victorious yesterday. Chinchik nearly did it, of course, taking the victory around here nearly, but obviously had that contact with James Baldwin right at the end of the Spring Season. We won't go into that too much. Erhan Yovski ended up winning that race. Luke Bennett took his first final victory around the Nürburgring as well. You've got Dane Warren, who showed some great pace around here. Of course, looking further down, you've got some people like Patrick Holtzman, who will be desperate to get through to try and hope that they can bolster their attempt to get all 4 Mouse drivers into the final. Looking at this circuit, though, of course, you can take the most notable ones, which is ones with slowdown penalties on the corners. Turn 8, you can get a slowdown for exceeding track limits on the inside. Turn 13 and 14, the NGK chicane, though, that is where we'll see an awful lot through qualifying, people pushing to the very limit. Everyone's on a great lap until that point. You fire it through the chicane and maybe overstep the mark. Here's a look at the lap times we're expecting from qualifying. Good sectors, Sector 1 being a 36.1, Sector 2 being a 47.2, and Sector 3 being a 29.5. If you're coming across the line, you're setting about a 53.0, even a 52.9. That is in the mark for a potential decent position, maybe even pole.
Well, we certainly have some big names, some fantastic drivers, but now it's finally time for my favourite part, the predictions, Mr. McGlade. I'm going to go ahead and throw mine out there first and foremost. I think Luke Bennett is going to close this one out. My reasoning for why is because during the spring season over on Nürburgring, he managed to finish in podium placement every single time. And I think that's a huge achievement, a huge accomplishment. And I'm fingers crossed he'll be able to rise on back to the top once again. But you know what? Before I let you give me your prediction, I'm going to go ahead and welcome Ewan to join us on the broadcast. And he can give me his one first. How's it going, Ewan?
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's going well, Frank. Glad to be back for another round of the series, by the way. I'm going to go for Max Benneker here for this semi-final. He took his Gamers 8 driver's title here at this circuit, don't forget, and he's won other races at this track as well. Yeah, he's hard to look past, to be honest. I'll go for Max Benneker.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Obviously, I'm now having to go full Ewan O'Leary here and pick from the scraps, which is what he said last round. Obviously, great choices. I'm going to go with Erhan Yovski. He was victorious here in that dramatic race in the spring season finale. So, you know what? Why not? Come on, Erhan, deliver it.
Well, I want to hear from everybody in the chat as well. I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled to see who the fans are rooting for. So without further ado, it is over to the two of you.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Of course, one driver that we didn't really mention there, Marcel Cinchik, victorious yesterday, of course, in the knockouts. One incredible driver, and of course, as we said, the 2023 spring season champion. He's not had the greatest start of the season. Did get knocked out in the semi-finals last time. Obviously, wants to avoid that one for a second consecutive week, Ewan.
Yeah, he certainly does. It's been an all right start to the season for Marcel. He's right up there, 4th place in the standings. So that's nothing to be worried about. But he will want to start getting those round wins again. It took him a very long time in the spring season to get a round win eventually, and that's why at the start of the Munich Major, I thought he wasn't actually going to take the whole thing. But in the end, proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. And he's back again now to try and take 2 titles in 1 year, which will be fantastic for him. Last night was his 12th win in ESL R1's history, brings him to tied 2nd in that list, along with Max Benneker, who is another favourite for this one.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, Benneker, this is a really strong semi-final. We were saying that looking at the list of drivers there, has it's kind of what we saw in the Hockenheimring as well. It has more drivers inside the top 10 of the championship. It theoretically on paper is the stronger one. Again, taking a look there, you can see the top 7 drivers are in the top 10 in the championship. It's incredibly tight, but for drivers like Patrick Holtzman and Thomas Tattler, you can see they're on the furthest, the second furthest right number there, where it says 25 and 28. That is their position presently in the standings. We've brought this up before, Ewan, that to get into the full major, you have to be in the top 24 in the standings. So they're on the outside looking in at the moment.
They are, but let's not forget where Tattler was before last night's race. It wasn't like he scraped through into the semi-final. He didn't exactly have, a difficult time of things. I think he finished 2nd, didn't he, in his knockout. He was right up there towards the front. So in fact, most of those 31 points he's accumulated so far this season actually came yesterday.
Yeah, certainly so. It's not been a particularly heroic start to the season for heroic. But no, seriously, they've had a few struggles. We are in qualifying, though, riding on board with Luke Bennett. He'll be the first driver to take us around the Nürburgring. We're in the Mercedes Arena section at the moment, where you see them go over the left side. You can theoretically get a slowdown penalty here by running wide, but it's more about when you touch those cones and when you go that far wide rather than the white line. So don't worry about it too much through there as we head towards Ford Family.
Yeah, it's very helpful to have those cones around, isn't it? Just to make sure you can stay within the track limits, and Luke Bennett has certainly managed that so far. As we've said previously, he's so strong around here at the Nürburgring. He's won 4 times, which is tied most with a couple of other drivers. And of course, he's done the clean sweep as well in terms of the first online round in the spring season. He was able to take the round free at the Nürburgring. So he knows his way around here, and he's a favourite for tonight.
So you can see there, Luke Bennett grew up in Birmingham, the old 0121. Now that is something which most people will be looking at. Is that a typo? No, that's the phone number area code of Birmingham, which weirdly enough is one of the ones in the UK that I do know. as well as Salisbury's, obviously, is where I live. Into the final sector now. Sector looking decent, 36.2, losing a little bit in that second sector, but nothing too major. This is on for a solid 53-0, maybe a 52-9. We'll see how happy he is going through the NGK chicane. That was where you could take the track limits. You've got to abuse them, but you've got to be careful not to overdo it. Into the final corner and out towards the line. Bennett is not happy with that time. 53-1. 53-1. There we go. That's why I'm paid the big bucks.
And in my opinion, couple of attempts down in that final sector, which really lost him those couple of attempts. I actually think he could have managed to 52 there, but the final few corners weren't that great. By the way, that was a bit of a local UK joke, but I enjoyed it. So there we are. Luke Bennett is in the pole position at the moment, and Patrick Holtzman won't be taking it away from him. That is going to really ruin his chances of going through, surely now, because it's a slowdown at the chicane. We were talking about them pre-race, and already it's come to fruition, and it has for Thomas Tatler as well. 2 slowdowns in the first 4 drivers.
Yeah, just to explain what happened there, basically, he's taken too much curb going through. We'll see here with Dane Warren, you can kind of really see what we mean. So you want to take just about enough where you're leaving enough kind of wheels on the actual racing surface. Yeah, sending it a little bit too far on the curbs, and you can get yourself a slowdown penalty. It will basically ruin your lap. Happy birthday to Dane Warren from everyone here at ESL. Unfortunately, he's not going to be in pole position in this one, but hopefully he can make his way through into a final. Thomas Tatler, by the way, I think has a slowdown penalty as well.
Yeah, he does. It must have come in the second sector, and that's why we're not seeing it for the moment. So yeah, he'll be around where Holtzman is, you would imagine. It's going to be interesting to see who actually prevails out of the two of them, but it's not going to be ideal either way. They'll probably be on the back row together, I would imagine. Tatler makes his way out of the final corner now, and he'll have to get the points that he can from this heat now. It's the 55-2, quite considerably faster than Holtzman actually, but they will be, as I say, on the back row together.
McCormack through, who's had a few struggles in qualifying, did breach the T1 track limits at Hockenheim Ring last week to get a slowdown penalty. Hopefully he goes on to provisional pole, because I'm bored of seeing a close-up of Luke Bennett's leg on pole position cam in the bottom right. That is the driver who currently holds the top spot. Dara McCormack up the line, and he is going to take that top spot. So McCormack goes on a 53.1. I'm still not sure that's safe, Ewan.
No, I'm not sure that's safe at all. I think we're going to see at the very least a 53-0. I think tonight we may well see a 52 as well. Is Jamie Fluke going to be the one to get there? I'm not entirely sure. Of course, they're still new to this Mercedes, the Apex Racing team, but they seem to be getting better and better week on week. They've got 3 of their 4 drivers into the semi-finals tonight. Jamie Fluke, the first of them to set a lap time, and he goes to the front. It is a 53-0, and what a time it is. What an opportunity for Jamie Fluke to make the final.
Yeah, we said that lap time was not going to be great to hang on to that pole position. I think we will see a 52, maybe a 52.9. We saw one yesterday, if memory serves. That is a lot of curb being taken, though, from Erhan Yovski, firing it through the final corner, just keeping it within track limits. And, of course, again, was a winner here in race 6 in the Spring Major as he saw his teammate Marcel Chinchik and, of course, James Baldwin fighting for the championship come together going through the NGK chicane. He came through to take the victory. This occasion it's not going to be pole position, but it does look to be second, as here comes the spring season champion.
Yeah, what about his teammate who did take a win last night, his second win around the Nürburgring in ESL R1. He makes his way over the curbs now. It's a really good first sector, by the way, and a good second one from Marcel Chinchik. This could be a quite frightening lap time from the spring season champion. The Hungarian makes his way around the final corner now, up towards the line. This is going to be pole, surely. Over the line he goes. No! It's the final sector where it falls apart. A 53-1, and he slots into second.
Yeah, my jaw just hit the floor, the fact that wasn't pole position. I was looking at those sectors thinking this is surely it. Maybe the Mercedes is pretty good in the final sector. Maybe it can use a lot more curb. I do not know. Jakub Brzezinski, the next one to come down. First sector's okay. Second sector's pretty decent. Could well be challenging for around Marcel Chinchik's, maybe even Jamie Fluke's position. Let's see what he can do up toward the line. 53.071 to beat. And it's not. It's a 10th off pole. Loses out in the final sector by second 27.6.
It's only a 10th away, but he's down in 6th place. Kevin Ellis Jr. going to try and do a bit better than that. Exactly where he needs to be in the first and second sectors. I think this will be around the top couple of rows here for Kevin Ellis Jr. as he tries to get near. Maybe Fluke could be on I don't recall him ever managing that in ESL R1, by the way. Kevin Ellis Jr. makes his way over the line now. What's it going to be? Apex Racing Team 1-5 so far.
Yeah, it was decent from Kevin Ellis Jr. You could see a little bit of movement in the background of Jamie Fluke. It might be Elvis Dragon, who knows? Obviously keeping a close eye on what's happening inside the team. 2 more drivers then left to come in this qualifying session. Jamie Fluke presently with the pole time. Mitchell de Jong's looking to try and steal it from him. The first sector and second sector, they are decent. If there is a decent final sector, this could challenge for pole, although I do get the vibe that it might be a bit behind that. We'll have to wait and see. We've already seen Dane Warren cross the line and go into 8th. What can the other Porsche Commander Esports driver do? Behind 9th place.
Yeah, Porsche Commander are going to struggle to get either of their drivers through into the final here, I would say. Max Benecke is next. He's so strong around the Nürburgring, of course, in ESL R1. He's won 4 times around here as well. Like Bennett, he could well be right around him as well at the end of this lap time. What can the Gamers 8 Drivers Champion do as he makes his way over the line? Max Benecke at 53.1 gets him into 2nd place. He's best of the Audis, but he's behind Jamie Fluke.
Well, we'll take a look at the VRS starting grid there for semi-final 1 of round 4. Patrick Holson with a slowdown penalty along with Timmins Tattler on the final row of the grid. The pair of those having some struggles before we get to row 5. And it's 2 of the Porsche Commander Esports drivers. Mitchell de Jong in 10th. Dane Warren, birthday boy, in 9th. Jakub Brzezinski, almost a 10th off of pole position, has to settle for 8th position on the grid, with Luke Bennett, a winner around here, having to start from 7th. Kevin Ellis Jr., one of the final drivers to set a lap time, goes into 6th with Dara McCormack in 5th. Erhan Yovsky and Marcel Chinchik make it an all-RHG row 2. Maximilian Benecke on the front row with a driver we weren't expecting to see on pole position. It's Jamie Fluke on top in qualifying. Yes, we'll have to wait and see if he can translate it to a first victory in ESL R1. We know the Apex Racing team are getting stronger and stronger piece by piece, but it is Fluke on top, looking to show that it isn't a fluke if he takes the victory. You have to make that pun when it's Jamie on top.
Well, yeah, you just have done. So yeah, we'll take it. But no, it's a wonderful position. I mean, who out of all of those 12 drivers would have said that Jamie Fluke was going to take pole out of that? And that's no disrespect to him. It's just been a bit of a struggle for Apex Racing Team generally in spring season. I mean, Kevin Ellis Jr. only just made it into the major, didn't make it into the final 12 either. But Apex Racing Team are improving week by week, and with this Mercedes, they're having a lot more joy, I think. Jamie Fluke is certainly one of those who's improved with this car.
Yeah, I think it suits their approach. We've already spoken before about how the balance of performance throughout the season, like the balance across all 4 of the vehicles that we've got in Range Sports, actually really, really solid at the moment. There is Marcel Chinchik, penny for his thoughts at the moment. Like I said, missed the semi-final just a week ago. Maybe on the cusp of doing it again. Hanyovsky, not looking particularly safe, but obviously the 2 of those starting on the 2nd row of the grid. To be fair, that's comfortable because we've said before, if you qualify inside that top 6, it's a really hard track to pass that. A lot of it's going to happen on the first lap.
Yeah, it is. And then we're going to see, how desperate are they to make it to the final? Since they've banked the points from making it through from the knockouts into the semi-final, are they going to play it cool in these 2 semi-finals before really going for it in the final? I'm not entirely sure, but I do have a feeling that there is going to be a little bit more aggression tonight just because of what is on the line at the moment and that place in the final 12 and in the final for round 4.
Porsche Commanders, of course, back in 9th and 10th position in this session. What can they do? What can Maximilian Benecke do? Looking to take a victory here and continue his winning streak, having won the final. There is Jakub Brzezinski. He'll have the joy of commentating alongside me tomorrow. Bless him. So it's only downhill from here. We'll get ourselves into the race now, and we'll see what Jamie Fluke can do from pole position. The race begins, and we'll see what the Apex Racing Team driver can do. Heading down to the first corner, it's a decent start for Fluke, as he's going to be able to hold off the charge of Maximilian Benecke into the first corner. Dara McCormack making a bit of contact with one of the RHGs, and now going very wide in the first corner. Going to potentially lose out to his teammate. Luke Bennett comes through, but then firing it straight back comes McCormack.
Barging, bumping for everyone as Kuba Brzezinski makes his way down the inside of Luke Bennett as well into the Mercedes arena. 2 Apex Racing Team cars inside the top 6 at the moment, I believe, with Kevin Ellis Jr. making it. The first minute side-by-side is for 6th place between McCormack and Bennett.
Oh, that was a bit of a squeeze there from McCormack, a little bit too, you got to say Luke Bennett was kind of there. Of course, McCormack coming across just a touch. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but obviously it's opened the door for Brzezinski to potentially get his way through. They head down towards Dom for the first time in this race. The top six seems fairly settled, and of course Brzezinski will try and fight Bennett. Oh, Bennett right off the rear end.
Side by side as Warren tries to get involved now as well with Kuba Brzezinski. It's been a decent start from Push Quander. They've at least not gone backwards, and in fact the bottom four have remained the same, but a few changes there. I do believe though that McCormack did squeeze Bennett possibly a little bit over the line on that run towards turns 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say I think that was over the line. If a car's there, I know it's not really by much, but you can't squeeze out a car going into that zone, so we'll have to wait and see if there are any repercussions courtesy of that, whether race control step in. We've said before that they've stepped in a few times this season, including back in round 2 of the season at the Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps when they took the victory away from Maximilian Benneke. There is a look at Jakob Brzezinski, birthday boy Dane Warren directly behind, looking for a pathway through at the moment. Porsche Coanda not going anywhere in this race, still remaining in 9th and 10th.
Yeah, it's single file at the end of lap 1 then, and are the positions settled? That's the question. Kevin Harris Jr. is looking pretty strong here, and Erhan Yoski has not got off to a great start, and his junior looks to the inside. This is almost already a bit more movement than we've seen in some of the knockout rounds yesterday.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, into that first sector they go then, and not really any opportunity for anyone to go for any moves. Do you force mistakes from people? How do you open the door? It is such a difficult circuit to go racing at in the best of times. And on this occasion, it looks like it's going to be even just like super hard.
Yeah, I think it is good. I mean, we know from ESL R1 that Nürburgring is by far the hardest of the circuits to overtake on, but it was almost turned up to 11, if you like, last night in terms of the knockouts. We haven't seen that for quite some time. Now I think in the later rounds, in the semi-final and the final, I think we are going to see a little bit more movement. We are going to see a few more fights taking place out on the circuit, but even then, as you said yesterday, it's not as if they didn't want to overtake yesterday, it's just that there was just no possibility for it, really.
Yeah, it wasn't a matter of remaining patient and waiting for later in the race. It was a matter of it's just so hard to race around here, especially in this. We've spoken before about how the slipstream's been increased a little bit. Obviously, this was rounds ago we were talking about this. How it has more of an effect. I.e., if you're behind the car, you get more of an effect from it than you did when we went racing back in Katowice at the start of the year. But around here, you get in these trains, you're getting slipstream from the car ahead, who's getting slipstream from the car ahead, who's getting slipstream from the car ahead, you have no advantage to go for an inside move down at T1, for example. So you're kind of relying on mistakes. If there's one thing that we know about drivers at this level, Ewan, is they very, very, very rarely make mistakes.
Yeah, it's just a moment where they're not driving quite as quickly as the others, is where the opportunities arise, really, rather than actual mistakes. And Erhan Yoski is experiencing some of those right now. I think it's making Kevin Harris Jr. a bit nervous, to be honest with you, because he keeps looking to the inside and they're not going for it. Then McCormack closes and he gets to the outside, but he doesn't want to make a move because Luke Bennett's right there. And if McCormack's offline, then Bennett will try and take that place. There's some real top drivers on this little cut line for 6th and 7th place, like Luke Bennett in 7th place at the moment. He is surely going to have at least one attempt before the end of this one.
Well, putting it into perspective between McCormack and Bennett, those that are in 6th and 7th, both of them have victories in ESL R1 in finals. Of course, McCormack having 2 of those back in the spring season, and Bennett having a win around here in the spring season. And now he's going to send one down the inside. Door was left open from McCormack, and Luke Bennett is going to try and sneak his way through. This is the final transfer position between 2 of the drivers that made it into finalist mode back in the spring season major, and that is going to be straight back down the inside goes McCormack.
That was aggressive, but I would say within the lines of being legal, to be honest. That was a good move. That was just very late on the brakes. It's only going to rile up Luke Bennett more, and he's going to be looking to get that 6th place again. I think the top 5 are now clear. Was a little bit worried about Erhan Yoski earlier on in the race, to be honest with you, with the pace that he was showing, but now he should be fine. It's the McCormacks of this world who should be worried, because Luke Bennett will want to reply to that one.
Yeah, I've got to say, that is an unreal move. Honestly, up there with one of the best moves that I've seen in ESL R1. Just the boldness to actually give that one a go. And I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that Luke Bennett will give another one, will give a go in a retort at some point. These two I've said it before, they're young drivers in the world of sim racing. You know, they've got a lot to give to the world of sim racing. They are the future superstars that we'll see right at the front of competitions for years to come. And we get to see them battling here for the final position in the final for today's race.
Yeah, this is amazing. You wouldn't have thought, to be honest, at the start that McCormack and Bennett would have been fighting for 6th place, maybe the win of this race, but certainly not 6th. We've had a bit of an upset at the front of the field. Having 2 Apex Racing Team cars inside the top 6 right now is a pleasant surprise for that team. Certainly in the Mercedes, it's Williams, the Mercedes team, who are struggling at the moment, despite their position 2nd in the team standings going into this round of the championship. It's quite a remarkable turn-up here. Both Porsche Coanders outside the cut line at the moment as well. A few surprises in this first semi-final.
Yeah, and we won't see all 4 Mouses making their way through, unfortunately, but that is what it is. I mean, will we see Dara McCormack making his way through into that final? And you say, well, he's in 6th position at the moment. I still wonder if there might be a couple of notes from race control about that incident between McCormack and Bennett at turn 5 on the first lap, on the opening lap of proceedings, because the contact between them, I mean, like for me, like that's kind of over the line. Obviously, they'll take a look, a handful of the incidents from various angles, but yeah, I mean, we've seen it before where positions have been cost. I mean, we saw it from Maximilian Benneker in the first round of the season at Monza.
Exactly, and we've seen it with Maximilian Benneker in the final at Spa, and we've seen lots of incidents.
Any other Benneker ones we can throw out there?
So, I didn't want to bring it up really, but sorry. Yes, he's fine at the moment, is Max Benneker. He's got the fastest lap as well, by the way. But yeah, we know that race control will get involved if they have to, as Thomas Tattler makes his way through on Mitchell de Jong. Don't exactly know how that happened, but de Jong is down to 11th.
So we did get a note that Dara McCormack was told to give up 1 position. And I did think he went wide against Bennett earlier on in the race, and then fired it straight back through into the hairpin. Now, from a technical point of view, like that has absolutely been given up. That position has been surrendered, and then he's come straight back through. So if that is the note from race control after that incident, and there is confirmation of it, then in my mind, Ewan, I think we're all good.
I think so. I'm just remembering an F1 race about 15 years ago where that happened, and the driver in question got penalised for doing exactly what
you weren't alive to remember that.
I do remember that, actually. It's about the first memory I have of Formula 1. But anyway, it was very similar to what we just saw there. I think whatever happens, to be honest, in the stewards' room, this fight is not over anyway. McCormack is there with Bennett, and they're going to continue fighting right to the end. And those behind are going to try and get involved where they can as well. The only problem for the 7 of them is that there's only 1 spot available to them.
Also, I do want to say, I actually completely agree. If that 1 place grid penalty is the thing that we're talking about, that incident between McCormack where he squeezed Luke Bennett going into that section at the end of the first sector. If it's for that bit, I completely agree, because I like the fact that, for one, I think that was actually over the line. I think it was a penalty. There's a look at race control. But also, I like the fact that it's dealt with in the race. I like the fact that it's been like, right, give that up, let's sort this out, and now we can actually still talk about the fight. I like that it's been dealt with now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's good to hear that that's been dealt with in the race and not post-race as well, which can be a bit frustrating to see on occasion. But yeah, it's dealt with now. The only problem for McCormack is that he's still got that pressure from Luke Bennett. Still a few laps to go in this one, of course. And of course, we know that the BMW does fall away slightly on tyres towards the end. So I do wonder whether Bennett needs to get this done pretty quickly. McCormack certainly doesn't think so. He's getting slow on the straight, and Bennett's going to look to the inside.
Unless he's been told that what he did to give up that position wasn't good enough. And so Luke Bennett has come through, and there was certainly a lift in there. There was absolutely a lift from Dara McCormack on Luke Bennett. So the position switch sees the 14 for Team Redline going to 6th place. And so that has now been reversed and puts Redline into position to go through into the final. And both Williams are now outside. But thankfully for McCormack, though, he surely won't get much fighting from behind from Brzezinski, and so can go fully focused on the attack for the race, for 6th place in the race. By the way, speaking of going on the attack, you said that Benneker had set the fastest lap of the race, and I do agree that I think Benneker's going to be looking for a race victory here. He wants to keep the streak alive. He wants to be sticking extra points onto his name. He wants another win.
Yeah, maybe. and he's got a couple of seconds behind him to be able to do that as well. But I think that will come at the end. You say that Brzezinski won't challenge McCormack here. Well, I do think that that's not necessarily going to happen, because if you remember on the way down towards the hairpin, when McCormack made that dive and that move back on Luke Bennett again, Brzezinski was actually looking up the inside of the Irishman at the time. So I'm not entirely sure that the Williams drivers aren't going to fight at all here. I do wonder what the team dynamic is going to be there. But for the moment, Williams will know that they've got both cars out of the top 6 at the moment, and Team Redline have got their one driver in there. Luke Bennett has overtaken McCormack, and he's put a half a second into him as well over this lap.
This has been a very impressive lap from Luke Bennett as he starts to pull away. Sixth place. Yeah, the battle's what we're looking at, but we've only got 2 laps to do with it. Lap 6 of 8. As we come across the line to start lap 7, just 2 more times to get around, and we'll see if the Irishman can work his way past Bennett. These two have fought time and time again. Yes, for race victories, but even for the championship in the spring season. The 6th place is not where they expect it, it's not where we expect it, but it's where they are. They have to deal with it. There is no chance of dragging anyone like Kevin Ellis Jr. into the fight. As too deep into T1 once again. Tara McCormack just pushing it a little bit too hard in the first corner.
Yeah, way too hard into the first corner there. It does seem that the final sector and the first turn as well is where that Mercedes excels in relation to the BMW, because that's where McCormack gets closest. But let's not forget, this is the penultimate lap now. We're running out of time in this race, and if McCormack wants to go through, it's going to have to happen on this next lap. If he wants to do it at turn 1, then there's only one more chance.
Well, let's see if there is going to be the opportunity. I mean, you said about the infighting potentially in Williams. I definitely don't think there will be any. I think Brzezinski will settle for that 8th position. Will keep Dave Warren behind and will allow McCormack to have his full focus on trying to get through. But at the moment, that gap is far too large, 3/10 of a second. We're seeing the same gap though for the race lead. So if you kind of see this gap between McCormack and Bennett, that is the gap between Maximilian Benneker and Jamie Fluke. Fluke looking for what we believe was a first victory, and Benneker looking for yet another one. Just will it be 13 victories for Benneker?
It would be, yes, for Benneker, yeah, and they would overtake Chinchik as well in the list. So yeah, it's an interesting situation here with the top 6. It's also interesting at the front of the field with Jamie Fluke versus Max Benneker still going on here as we edge towards that last lap.
Yeah, certainly so. You can see it on the left, the battle for the win, and everyone else fighting on. That's a bit of a tight line being taken from Tara McCormack as well. It's really nervy times inside both of these teams, and I mean, I'm liking what we're seeing here. I'm liking the pace that we're seeing, the potential that we're seeing. At the moment, who's going to take this victory? Who's going to be transferring into the final? Maximilian Benneker is closing in. He's going to look to the inside going out of the first corner, but Jamie Fluke sees him off, and Tara McCormack is certainly not close enough to get through on Luke Bennett.
No, not this time. It's going to have to happen into the final chicane realistically now for Darren McCormack. Did see Kevin Ellis Jr. having a look at Erhan Yoshkin towards turn 1 there, but nothing doing there either. I think Benneker's got a bigger chance of going through than McCormack has for the moment. That Audi is always pretty strong in towards the final chicane. We keep going back to that race in Munich, of course, race number 6, the famous race. Marcel Chinchik gave it one last go into the chicane. That's where he always got closest in that Audi as he was trying to overtake a Mercedes. We could see a similar situation for the lead in semi-final 1.
Yeah, it is very, very tight between all of this grouping. I do get the feeling that Benneker's going to take a look, but I don't think he's actually going to try anything too drastic for that final game. Might be a look to the outside and might be a commitment to the outside. You can see there in the bottom, that is what's happening at the race lead. Obviously, the battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th is incredibly tight. It's going to, honestly, this is thrilling stuff between all of these, but just no one's able to make anything stick, Ewan.
No, not for the moment. Not even any attempts just for now either, since we saw that exchange with Bennett and McCormack throughout that one. McCormack will, of course, be a little bit disappointed with his performance in this one, I think, and it looks like he will just miss out. What about Max Benneker as they make their way towards the final chicane?
No way for Benneker to make a move. Still quarter of a second between the pair of them. Jamie Fluke has driven this race to perfection. It was a shot pole position for Jamie Fluke, for the Apex Racing team. It's their first season in partnership with the official Mercedes AMG backing, and they'll come through the final corner. It'll be a first win of the season for Jamie Fluke. Of course, we have seen at the Apex Racing team victorious before in the hands of Kevin Ellis Jr. This is Jamie Fluke on top at the Nürburgring, bringing behind him Benneker by a tight margin. And it's been an incredible drive from Jamie Fluke. pieced it together perfectly, and the victory will go the way of the Northern Irishman. Lots of tears from the race. I'm sure some going from the Williams Esports camp. Dara McCormack will be one of those. Of course, it was a difficult race for him, finding himself outside of that top 6. And McCormack just down the order. Big shame for him.
Yeah, big shame. And Luke Bennett just sneaking in there. We thought he might be able to win that race, Luke Bennett, but that certainly wasn't going to happen. It was at the expense of Dara McCormack, though, that he made it into that top 6. And yeah, what a race that McCormack had. Very eventful for the Nürburgring, has to be said.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, obviously, we'll have to take a look at some of the highlights from McCormack's race. Obviously, it all started down to the first corner, didn't it, Ewan? Went in a little bit too deep into that first corner, opened up the opportunity for Kevin Ellis Jr. to come through and almost his teammate Brzezinski. Just that for me is where this race unfolded a little bit for him.
Yeah, it was, and it was in avoidance of Marcel Cinchik as he just went a little bit deep on the brakes there, McCormack. He had to avoid the R8G Audi and then pull wide. This was him, I believe you're right, Lewis, letting Bennett through in towards turn 6, that was. He lifts off a little bit here, but not so much to let Bennett totally through. Brzezinski's even having a look at his teammate on the way down there as well. But you're right, I think this is where it all fell apart as well. If turn 1 goes better for McCormack here, then none of the stuff that we're seeing afterwards actually happened to him, in my opinion.
We saw him miss miss turn 1, the apex of turn 1, quite a few times through the race. So maybe not having the best brake marker into that first corner, just pushing it a little bit too far. Very unfortunate for the Mercedes-AMG Team Williams Esports driver, but still very much getting into contact during the race. Obviously, one major bit of contact was that one up into turn 5. This, in my opinion, was an excellent move. Maybe race control saw it as a bit over the line and told them to redress the position. That was why we saw them switch once more. For me, that was a bold move. This was him relinquishing the position back to Luke Bennett. Didn't see Luke Bennett at all throughout the race after that point, did he?
Chanted towards turn 1, where he was sort of to the outside, but was never really, fully alongside, never really challenging fully. And in the end, Luke Bennett did have enough. That BMW kept its pace right to the very end, which we don't always see from that car, and it was just too much. This was the closest he got, really, McCormack, straight into the back of Bennett, in fact, but not alongside, nowhere near going through.
Yeah. Very, very close indeed. But no, good stuff there for Dara McCormack. Obviously, we should speak of some of the other ones that are up there. Obviously, Kevin Ellis Jr. getting his way inside. Luke Bennett, obviously, now will progress through into the final, so at least we have that. But what a victory from Jamie Fluke. What a stunning performance.
Yeah, I mean, a bit wider as well for Apex Racing Team. Who would have had money on both of their drivers going through from that heat? It's a very difficult semi-final. In fact, they both are tonight. They both are always, really. But Apex Racing Team, in my opinion, didn't have much of a chance of getting both through. They have done exactly that with a Jamie Fluke race win as well.
Well, hopefully we'll be grabbing an interview. Let's see who we've got in the interview room so we can have a little bit of a chin wag. It is, of course, Jamie Fluke. Where has that come from, mate? What's that about?
Good question. So, I mean, the quali lap was solid, not amazing by any means, but I think everyone else just left a little bit on the table, and my lap just so happened to be top of the tree. And to be fair, I think my race pace has been really, really solid all season, but whenever you're mid-pack, it's really hard to show it. So, yeah, thankfully I was able to do the business today.
We're seeing some highlights from your race on the screen. There wasn't many of them because you led into the first corner after a decent race start, and then you just had to defend from, it's only Maximilian Benneker through the race. How hard is that to deal with? The pressure on your shoulders dealing with someone that we know is that fast in the world of sim racing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not straightforward. I mean, he's the Gamers 8 champion for a reason, and this is probably his best track as well. So as far as defensive drives go, I didn't have to defend from a move per se, but I mean, his pace was extraordinary to put that much pressure, because it's so difficult with the dirty air usually, but he was able just to plow right through it and keep me under tons of pressure. So I was really happy that I didn't make a mistake and could hold him off.
What makes the Nürburgring so difficult to pass? Is that dirty air that you're speaking of? How does all that kind of work, and how do you deal with that through race? How do you try and set up a move around here?
Yeah, so it's really tricky. It's hard to get the drive off the corner better, really, than the car ahead in the key areas around the lap, and where you think you can then start to close ground up, then all of a sudden there's a high-speed corner immediately after it. So, as soon as it bunches up, then it sort of spreads out a little bit, and you're sort of relying a little bit on mistakes from the car ahead for much to happen, or for them to, wreck their tires or something along those lines. So, Also, it's quite a narrow track as well. It's one of those sort of old school GP circuits that isn't super wide and doesn't have a ton of long straights either. So overtaking can be quite a challenge.
Well, maybe you won't have to do any overtaking in the final, because maybe we're starting from pole position. Who knows what shocks are left to come? Cheers, Jamie, and a well-deserved race win in the semi-final.
Yeah, thank you much. Thank you so much, Lewis.
Wow.
Well. Honestly, I'm just baffled at the fact that he could just be so calm. If that's me, bro, I'm literally standing up out of the sim rig, beating my chest, and just doing like a little hoorah.
Oh, same. No, I'd have been going around to Kevin Ellis Jr., leaning into his cockpit, being like, "See, I told you I was better." Things like that, just really pumped up on energy. Absolutely.
Well, from that one, we had both of our R8G drivers making it through, both of our Apex Racing team drivers. But what about Porsche? What about the Williams camp side of things? But let's focus on Porsche in particular, because previously we've seen really, really great performances coming out from their two drivers.
You got to say, it was a disaster in qualifying and disaster in ESL R1. So, I mean, they were a tenth and 2/10 off of the pole time. That's it. That is all they were. They were so close to the margin of getting through. But when you lose that kind of time, you're outside of the top 6 in qualifying, and around here, that's basically a sentence to not progress. It all comes down to that, and you are talking about 1 or 2 tenths. That makes the difference, and it's no joke.
Well, I feel like the teamwork element definitely factors into that as well. And you know what, for everybody watching right now, in just a few minutes, we will be joined by the team manager from Furia for an interview. But before that, I want to hone in a little bit more on this teamwork, this team synergy as well. And in particular, I want to check in on the team synergy of Kuba and Dara. So let's check out what they got up to.
You're heading towards the curb, you're on the grass. No.
But which curb? I don't know.
Sorry, on the left.
Hi guys, I'm Kuba.
I'm Dara McCormick.
And we're part of Mercedes AMG team Williams Esports. And today we are doing a blindfolded challenge.
So one of us is going to have the blindfold on, and we need to tell the other person the directions, basically. So there's going to be a lot of crashing.
Left? Why are you not turning left? Okay, you're not getting any instructions.
Tell me to go right instead of straight, dumbass. Fuck. All right. 2, 1, go. Okay. And easy into the right, easy in, right, a lot right. You're in the wall. Okay, reverse. Okay, come back. Okay, straight, little bit left. Okay, and brake, hard. Yeah, okay. And easy, you're at the apex now, turn right. No, you're in the sand, you're going to the wall. Left a little. Okay. You're heading towards the curb, you're on the grass. No.
But which curb? I don't know.
Sorry, on the left. To the right. Whoa, you're going left. Okay, you're on the grass. You're near the apex now, turn right, 100 and whatever degrees. Yeah.
100 and whatever degrees.
Okay, you're coming to the fast right. Keep going straight. All right, left, about 60 degrees. Straight, all right, left, about 60 degrees. 60, no, oh,
Right,
sorry, right. Fuck. Left. Okay, go to the right. Okay, hold right. Right, keep going right. Yeah. No, left. You went way too hard.
Did I spin?
No, keep going straight. Bam, there you go. 4 minutes, 2 seconds.
4 minutes, 2 seconds.
Well, a valiant attempt was certainly made there. I feel bad for Dara. I feel like anytime we record content with him, he's always got the short end of the stick. I actually did some racing with him as well. I was doing the wheel, I was doing the pedal, he was doing the wheels, and that was a disaster in its own right as well. But I did promise that we would have the team manager from Furia joining me here on the broadcast. So I'd like to give a very warm welcome to you, Guy. Firstly, how are you doing? How's life been since the last time we chatted? I don't think I can hear you. Have we got a classic mic mute?
No, it's all okay.
It's okay, we can...
You hear me? Again?
Okay. Maybe I've got an issue on my end. Anyways, you can tell everybody at home how life has been while I try and fix things on my end.
Well, everything is going good so far. We're having a great championship with Kaiki. and yeah, struggling a little bit with the rest of the team, but on a path of development. And yeah, uh, it's been challenging, but good, very good.
Well, for yourself and the rest of the team, obviously you have very much been pioneering sim racing in Brazil. So explain to everybody that's tuning in right now a little bit about your journey on the lead up to where you are here today.
Well, it all began before joining Furia. I was 10 years in Porsche Carrera Cup in Brazil. So there we began a big project of sim racing called Porsche Esports Brazil, where all the Brazilian sim races gathered to race and develop a community. And it was in 2018, just before the pandemics. And when the pandemics hit, we were all organized already and doing good competition. And well, in 2020, it just exploded in popularity in the in all the professional sense. And so we created a strong community there, and it was we didn't know at the time, but it was the base of Furia team, which was born in 2023. So basically, that's the background of where Furia comes from.
So you've really and truly been here, there, and everywhere. Now, as a Brazilian organization, how important is it for yourself and the rest of the team to make some noise in the wonderful world of sim racing, especially when you consider the fact that Furia have certainly made their fair share of noise in CSGO? How important is it to make sure Brazil is well and truly got a title in sim racing?
Yeah, for sure. Furia is seen as a national team of Brazil, so it's such a huge crowd that is always cheering for Furia in Counter-Strike. So for us in sim racing, it was such a blast to have Furia joining the sim racing community, and for us it was very important. Also a recognition of all the work we have been doing the years before. So from now on, it's the challenge is to establish a strong community also outside of sim racing and make the sports being known outside of our bubble, let's say like that. But yeah, it's already making lots of waves. Like we're getting lots of new teams and also initiatives because of this Furia initiative. So it's really important to have such a big organization with us and working with us. It's on the professional side. It's just so different to work with the psychologist and also work with the someone to take care of the physical side of the athletes, and also mental coach and all the structure that Furia offers the athletes. It's just a level up. So it's so important for us and the sim racing community.
I think it's absolutely beautiful, all of the work that you guys have put in, but also all of the sacrifices that have been made as well. Yes, Furia is very much a Brazilian organization, but you guys have actually moved to Denmark as well. So explain to me what kind of prompted that decision, and how did you pitch the idea to your drivers?
Yeah, we can already call ourselves the nomads of sim racing. No, actually, it was we had the option of going back to Malta again for season 2. It was a nice option, and it was already on our plans. But during season 1, we had Lasse Sorensen joining our team, and it was such a good move and such a nice add to the team. He is not only super experienced driver, super competitive driver, but he also helps so much on the background with his experience, and he's also a team manager himself. So it adds a lot of experience and knowledge to us. And he came with the idea, hey guys, why don't you come to Denmark? Let's do it all together. And then we were doing the plans, and it was very leveled on the financial side. And I was like, yeah, okay, we have an obvious advantage of being all together in Denmark. So it was like the best decision for season 2, and the guys are there in Denmark. I'm still in Brazil, but tomorrow I'm flying to Denmark to join them. And in season 1 we were living together in the same house, and now it's a little bit different. I'm already missing the guys. We had a strong connection during this first semester, and it's a very important part of the competition to know what each other are feeling, and also to give support. It's so heavy this semester, and one round after the other. It's just a mental challenge, and being together and being close to each other plays such an important role in everything.
Would you say that yourself and the rest of the team are perhaps feeling the pressure? Are you feeling like right now it's a bit of a make it or break it situation?
Yes and no, because it is very challenging. These are simply the best drivers in the world, and also the best team managers in the world, the best organizations, the best structures. Everything is so hard to make a work that stands out from this crowd. And no, because the time of learning things was season 1, and now season 2 is the time to apply things that we learned. And I think we're very happy with what we are applying, and we are showing lots of development on Kaiki's driving, also Kaiki's performances. And right now, our challenge is to bring all the drivers to the same level. For example, Lasse Bach and Gustavo Ariel are rookies, and as Kaiki says, those are very deep waters in terms of learning the tricks and learning the details. So they have a time of adaptation, time to adapt to the simulator, and this is our current challenge. So this is hard. At the same time, it's very rewarding.
Well, considering the fact that, Kaiki's obviously contribute 85% of Furia's total points so far, what are the rest of the team doing? What kind of is going on behind the scenes in order to make sure that the guys are comfortable in order to try and play catch up, as it were?
Yeah. In this part of the season, which is the first rounds, it's the time of getting adapted to the simulator. From round 5 on is the time to get really close and competing with the other drivers. So for Gustavo and Bach, it was the time to get used to the sim and being more and more progressively competitive. And for Lasse, he's been very unlucky on the first rounds, unfortunately, with the penalties and incidents. It's just, but the speed is there. He had a very good pace on the last round, and unfortunately, things were not put together to make it through. But the speed is there. It's just getting on the right spot mentally.
Honestly, every single time I interact with anybody from your team, the teamwork, the mentality, the hardworking nature is most definitely there. So I'm super excited to continue watching the growth and progression from yourself and the rest of the team as well. But I feel like this wouldn't be a broadcast if we didn't give you the opportunity to speak to the fans, anybody that's been supporting your journey so far, and feel free to do it in Portuguese.
Okay, first in English and then the rest in Portuguese. So all of you that are watching us, Furia fans and everybody, thank you for cheering for us. This is so important. We are in the beginning of our journey, and every one of you counts. thanks a lot. E galera, muito obrigado por dar essa força pra gente, acompanhar, empurrar e vamos torcer agora pelo Kaique para ele fazer uma super corrida, alcançar mais uma final e ir em direção a esse Major na Suécia em Jönköping.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Guy. Best of luck to you and the rest of the team. We're super excited to keep following your journey.
Thank you. Bye.
Honestly, heartwarming scenes. Every single time, like I said, I interact with anybody from Furia, their heads and their hearts are most definitely in the right place. Lewis, get yourself back in here. I want some more wholesomeness. Oh, is that a beta key I spot?
It is a beta key. Everyone get your screenshots ready. Windows Shift S, go. And then go to Epic Games, obviously. Epic Games, go. Quick.
I'm liking the little Epic Games drawing too.
It's good, isn't it? I'm very professional.
Yes.
I'm very professional.
So what did you make of the interview that you just watched there?
You put it so well. Like every time we speak to anyone from Furia, their heart's in the right place. They've got such a lot of work to have done to put them in this spot, and it's amazing to see.
Well, I think it is about time we get the show on the road with our semi-final number 2. So talk to me about some more of these fantastic drivers that we've got competing, because my eye is certainly on Sebastian Job right now.
Yeah, obviously, multiple winner in the championship. Now is second in the championship, only courtesy of the semi-final one already having happened. Came into this as the championship leader. You got drivers up there as well that were expected to fight for the title. Joshua Rogers, but let's not count out Yuri Toman. I mean, he's been fantastic so far this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he certainly has. Taking a look at the stats in particular, though, Toman currently 4th in the Driver Championship standings when we kick things off today. Job was indeed first, but I gotta say, when you really break it down to the stats in particular, these two drivers are not too far off one another whatsoever. I do think that Toman certainly has the potential to maybe skirt in front of Job. What do you think?
Yeah, no, to be honest, yeah, absolutely. The top 3 stats, by the way, are those for the season that we're presently in, the full season. The bottom 2 stats are the overall of what they've done in ESL R1. And I was saying it before we went live, and I'll say it again. The top 6 percentage is always the one that I focus on at this part of the competition. And Sebastian Jobs being 83% is absolutely insane. I can't get over that.
I completely agree, but another driver I really want to chat about is Yuri Kasdorp. What do you think he needs to do in order to try and play catch up to his teammates of the likes of like Max and Moritz?
Look, Kastorp's actually been showing some better speed as the season's gone on. He's been finding his pace. Of course, you see him there as the 12th driver to have made his way through. He qualified really poorly around here yesterday, got himself a slowdown in qualifying, had to start from 10th. One thing that he's shown, though, is that unlike quite a few other drivers, he is not afraid of making an overtake round here, fired his way back up the order to get himself inside that top 6. So, to be honest, don't count out Yuri from getting into a final. I know Ewan O'Leary's a massive Yuri Kasdorp fan, apparently.
Is he actually? Is that word on the street?
Well,
he's
apparently.
a huge Yuri Cat. There we go. Well, we know that now. But speaking a little bit more about teamwork, I want to focus on the Mercedes side of things. We've got James Baldwin and Bono House as well. These two drivers, obviously, James Baldwin, numerous podium finishes to his name. How do you think Bono House has been doing?
Actually, surprisingly good. The last time they got into a semi-final, it was courtesy of Bono House. That was 9 knockout races ago. So they've had 9 consecutive knockout races where they got knocked out. They were in the bottom 6. They finally find themselves above the cutoff line. And remember when we went racing here in round 6 of ESL R1 in the spring season, it was a 1-2 for the Mercedes team. They do go well around here. James Baldwin was second on that day, though. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, taking a look at Team Redline as well, I feel like this time last season they were giving a way better performance than what they have been doing so right now. Williams, on the other hand, though, I feel like they've certainly been stepping it up.
But these two, of course, were victorious yesterday in their respective knockouts. It was the first victory in the main season from Nikodem Wisniewski. Of course, we have seen a couple from Kevin Siggy, so it's good to see him back at the front. I completely agree. I think Redline have been a bit disappointing at the start of the season, but I do get the feeling they're starting to turn it around. We know Kevin Siggy's got the speed, he's got the consistency, and this is the kind of circuit which you can absolutely deliver on. But Wisniewski taking that victory, it kind of makes me think that maybe he's taken a big step forward for the Williams team. And you know what? Once you take that first knockout win, maybe a final win's not too far after.
Well, you know what they say, no pain, no gain, and that is even in sim racing. Nicodem certainly seems to believe that one.
I think you should be sitting. Don't you think so? No? Okay.
No, doesn't make a difference.
Okay. Yes, second race at the Nürburgring, about to get underway. We're just in practice at the moment. Nikodem Wisniewski is attempting to drive, having dislocated his shoulder earlier, so that'll be difficult. He goes over the line now. It's a 36-1. It's Nikodem Wisniewski up to the top of the times.
Well done to Nikodem Wisniewski, once again fighting through the pain, and he will take over pole position, Cam.
Fastest time in qualifying with the arm we were talking about here in the shoulder injury.
Yeah, a bit of injury, so it's not a great feeling, to be honest. I need to cool down the hand.
Nikodem Wisniewski out through the final corner, and the Williams driver is about to cross the line as our third winner of the day, the second winner of Group B. Nikodem Wisniewski dominates at the Hockenheim Ring.
Well, that is certainly an understatement, isn't it? A little bit of an injury, he says, having dislocated the shoulder. I think, without further ado, fellas, I'm going to go ahead and pitch my own prediction. Sebastian Job is going to close this one out quite comfortably. What do you think, Lewis?
Comfortably? I think Kevin Siggy is going to turn it around. I think Mustachio is destined to take top spot in semi-final 2.
And yeah, I'm going to go for Josh Rogers because it seems like the obvious pick, really. He's so successful in ESL R1, wins so often. Yeah, why not Josh Rogers for a semi-final win tonight?
Well, go on, guys. One of us has got to get this prediction right at some point, right? So I'm going to throw it over to the two of you.
You say that, we might go through a whole night without getting any right. That's entirely possible. But let's see. Jamie Fluke, semi-final 1 winner, of course. Who will take semi-final 2? Will it be Kevin Siggy? He's a very loud man sometimes, a very angry man as well on occasion. Let's hope not. Let's hope it's a good semi-final number 2 for Kevin Siggy.
Yeah, he certainly gives us a run for our money when it comes to decibel levels. Yuri Kazdorp, his fact is not, by the way, about how he's the tallest man in sim racing, but it's quite a funny one. Obviously, he starts the season AFK, obviously away from keyboard. Gamer speaks, fine. But he does turn it around, and he is turning it around this season. He's showing actually he's got a lot more speed than he had in the spring season. I'm very impressed with Yuri Kazdorp so far.
Yep, I am as well. Kaki Oliveira has been very impressive for Furia as well. Apparently, he's just bought an electric guitar in Denmark. They are obviously having just moved there. We just heard the interview with the Furia team manager. Yeah, now keeps everybody else awake, I would imagine, in Furia by playing an electric guitar, which is a talent I didn't know he had, I've got to be honest.
Do you think they'd be quite furious? No, it's fine. Bonner House, obviously, you can see there, won the Formula E Vegas E-Race, which was in 2016. I remember that. He came across the line technically in third, behind Ollie Packler and Felix Rosenqvist, if memory serves. But then some post-race shenanigans, courtesy of issues, shall we say. Anyone who's watched it, you'll absolutely know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched it, don't worry about it. Bonner House ended up taking the victory and an awful lot of cash on that day. That is certainly his crowning achievement as the 5-time Formula Sim Racing World Champion.
Yeah, exactly. The prize pool on that day as big as we had back in Gamers 8 in ESL R1. A fantastic event and a fantastic thing for him to win. Will he be able to get into semi-final 2, though? I do find myself slightly being cautious with the Mercedes team at the moment. I know they've finally broken that streak of 9 knockouts, as you mentioned earlier, Lewis, of them not making it. This time they finally have done. They're in a semi-final with 2 drivers in 1. But will they get into the final? I do find myself hesitant when thinking about it. I don't know if they're going to make it.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Of course, we always say this when we look at our entry list for each of the semi-finals. There is 12 drivers that can absolutely get through into the final from each. It's crazy strong. All 12 can really go through. Madness. We brought up a stat earlier, by the way, about Jakub Schlitzky when he won the 2020 Le Mans Virtual, which was the first ever Le Mans Virtual. Obviously, his teammate on that day was this man here, Nikodem Wisniewski, the man who is slightly ill at the moment. We are wisely informed. Of course, the last time he was somewhat in a bit of a disposition health-wise when he had his shoulder dislocated and still won a race. Maybe it is a turnaround day for Wisniewski.
Yeah, he is often good at driving with injury. He has had surgery, by the way, on his shoulder, and I believe that it's a bit better now because, as we noted at the time, it was a fairly common thing for him to have a dislocated shoulder, and that's obviously not normal. So I think he's had some surgery to correct that now. The only problem is he's fallen a bit ill. He posted on Twitter last night, by the way, after winning his knockout. He was Googling how to be ill all the time because he was driving very well at the time. But obviously, we don't want that for him. Still 5 rounds to go, of course, and I'm sure he'll be able to drive well, even without illness. And maybe it'll even help him along for Williams Esports. Of course, trying to make the final 12 this season, something which he didn't quite manage in the spring season, but he's off to a decent start. 14th in the standings coming into semi-final number 2, and he will set the benchmark for the rest of the field. It's a good opening lap for Nikodem Wisniewski, especially the middle sector. It's a fist bump before he goes over the line. It's a 53.0. That would have been right around pole position in semi-final 1.
Yeah, that final sector did look quite average though, so I think there is more time. Took way too much of the, or at least what it looked like, took way too much of the final curb going through the NGK chicane and was a little bit sort of boaty in the final corners. I think there's even more time in it, but still 53.0 might be good enough. Spenny was in that kind of chat with what gave Jamie Fleet pole for the Apex Racing team in the previous race. Can Johan Haas make it from 2 for the Apex Racing team? Comes up towards the line. Those sectors aren't that good. And across the line, that's terrible for the French.
Johan Haas is not going to be very pleased about that at all. Sebastian Joe, current points leader on the way in towards this round, is now making his way towards the line. No sex time for him for the moment, but he is looking to become the first driver to win 3 ESL R1 regular season rounds ever. Never mind, just in one season, he's had a very successful opening to the full season of 2023. Over the line for Sebastian Joe. He takes provisional pole by 100th of a second.
Incredibly close, just about getting it done. Of course, he had to set a record-breaking lap time to set pole position in the final when we went racing at Spa. I don't think we'll be seeing a record-breaking lap time for pole position in the final this time by, just courtesy of how fast it is in the hands of Joshua Rogers that we've seen going around later on. We'll see this lap time come in though from Bonnerhouse. First sector's decent, second sector's on the money, 53.0. It is a 53.108, so just about in that cusp, but not too close to pole position.
No, not at the moment. James Baldwin makes his way towards the line as well. Not a great first sector from him, unfortunately, but he's made up some of that time in the second. It's going to have to all come at the final chicane, and he's dropping his head in despair. It's a slowdown for James Baldwin. Mercedes with a huge job on their hands to get a driver into the final. It's going to have to be Bono House because James Baldwin will have to start from the back row, surely.
Yeah, it's a disaster for James Baldwin, who was almost looking to get himself inside the top 24 in the standings, but the poor start to the championship continues for the Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports team driver. I still think he's going to be good to get into Sweden. It's just how far will we be off the money before we get in? Is it a slowdown for Kevin Siggy as well? Race victory yesterday in his knockout, and Kevin Siggy, that wheel, bang, 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 and more decibels being broken, and unfortunately across the line, he'll be behind even Colvin, I think. No, not quite Colvin, but still. Right.
He is unhappy. Kevin Siggy, they'll be on the back row together, you would imagine. Josh Rogers will be next. Porsche Coanda looking for a bit of a pick-up, really, because the first semi-final of the day didn't go well at all. Josh Rogers, the one who saved them and got them out of jail on so many occasions, is going to have to do it all over again. He will attempt to make the final here this evening as he makes his way around the final corner for Porsche Coanda Esports. What can he do with this time? It's a 53.1. It's 4th place for Josh Rogers. A little bit slower than maybe we expected, but not bad.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, look, it's a decent lap time, but not crazy. I don't think it's going to be at the point where it's going to be on the cusp of getting into that top 6 in the qualifying session. So might have to do a little bit of work during the race. Becky Oliveira into the final section. We're getting a really good close-up there for Sebastian Job in the bottom right. Will he keep hold of that pole position at the moment? I think so. I don't think Becky Oliveira is looking particularly pleased. Out across the line, behind Joshua Rogers into 5th place. Still 4 drivers left to go.
Yep, Yuri Toman is one of them, flying the flag for RHG in this one. Timo Kazabon, unfortunately, didn't quite make it. Didn't miss out by loads, but didn't make it for RHG to join Yuri Toman, the current team's championship leaders, by quite some distance. And they ran redline quite close in the spring season. The fall season certainly going their way. Yuri Toman on target right now to get quite close to those front 2 rows. I think he'll be just ahead of Rogers. He is 700ths away in 4th place for Yuri Toman.
Here comes Jeffrey Rietveldt, of course, was contending for the Drivers' Championship at Gamers 8 around here before he had contact with Joshua Rogers. And, you know, he's a fantastic driver when it comes to things around here. But he gets a slowdown as well. So with both the red line drivers, you can see how it is. We don't typically see too much emotion from Jeffrey Rietveldt. We saw some there as he'll cross the line, potentially head of forward behind Siggy. Even ahead of Siggy, to be perfectly honest. But 3 drivers with slowdown penalties in this race all through that NGK chicane.
And 2 of them are red line drivers as well. Rietveldt and Siggy with a disaster for Team Red Line. What about Maus? They'll be the final team to come across the line. Yuri Kastor will be last, of course, but it's Moritz Lerner who will be over the line first of the 2 of them with a decent position in the point standings going into today. Will want to get into that final just to secure a better position within that. It's a 53-2 though, tied with Kaki Oliveira. He's only 6th.
One final lap time left to go then. Moritz Lerner finds himself inside that top 6. Can he be deposed by his teammate into the finals? Again goes Yuri Kastor, sends it over. No slowdown penalty for him, so we have just the 3 cars with slowdown penalties through this. Let's see what Yuri Kastor can do into the final corner. The sectors are tracking to be quite close to Rogers' lap time in 5th, maybe even his teammate Moritz Lerner, unless it's at least the final segment. Goes into 6th and demotes his teammate a single spot.
And Maus may well have to decide who wants to go through into that top 6. 3 slowdowns in this starting grid as we bring up our BRS starting grid for the second semi-final. James Baldwin will start from last alongside Kevin Siggy. Jeffrey Rietveldt also with that slowdown. Johan Harf with the slowest of the representative times. Kaki Oliveira and Moritz Lerner will be just outside that top 6. Yuri Kastor and Josh Rogers will be on row 3 just behind Yuri Toman, and a great lap from Bono House as Nikodem Wisniewski and Sebastian Job line up on the front row. Another pole position for the 2-time round winner in the ESL R1 full season. It's Sebastian Job flying the flag for G2 Esports, the only driver of that team to make it into the semi-finals. He's now on pole and looking well on his way to another 25 points, well on his way to another final. That does the points leader. What can he do from the best starting position on the grid? There he is, Sebastian Job on top once again. What about in 8 laps time?
Yeah, as no G2 Esports' attention will probably be slightly elsewhere with the ESL Pro League going on at the moment. Obviously, it's G2 versus Mouse in that one. It's only just started. It's looking pretty good for G2 so far. But obviously, at the moment in this, it's looking pretty good for G2. Pole position for Sebastian Job. We know how fast he is in this championship. You know, he's come into it as the championship leader and looking to do some more. There is Nikodem Wisniewski. I can give you a tip, by the way, on how to get ill more often. Go and lick some lampposts. That will certainly help the matter. But I would probably recommend against doing that because, well, it's just not good for you.
That's lovely that you suggested that. Thanks for that. There's James Baldwin. He got a slowdown here. So did Kevin Siggy. So did Jeffrey Rietveldt. I don't recall the last time, Lewis, we saw quite so many in a session. I mean, if it was going to happen anywhere, it would be here. But even so, that is a surprise.
Well, of course, yeah, we have some big names getting slowdowns in the semi-final last time. Obviously, that was just 2 on that occasion, being Sebastian Job and Joshua Rogers. There is a look at James Baldwin. Penny for his thoughts. How do you think he's feeling in that car right now? Because I think Furious doesn't quite do it justice.
Yeah, well, he sort of seemed almost resigned to his fate there as he went through that final chicane, dropped his head, not in anger, but in just pure despair. There was certainly anger from this man. Kevin Siggy was furious, and so was Jeffrey Rietveldt. Kaki Oliveira is up there and flying the flag for Furia all over again. 85% of that team's points going into round 4 of our championship, and it's going to be an even higher percentage by the end of this. He's once again the only Furia driver to have made it forward towards semi-final number 2. He's up there, though. So are both Maus drivers, by the way. Kastorp and Lerner will be starting from 6th and 7th in this one. Yuri Toman is up there, another consistent qualifying from him. It's going to have to be another consistent race from him as well if he wants to make yet another final, which he does so often. Johan Harf is going to have quite some work to do from 9th on the grid. Let's get ready to race. It's semi-final number 2 here at ESL R1, and we are underway. Sebastian Job has to defend on the way towards turn 1. Nikodem Wisniewski decides to just play it cool and holds on to 2nd. Around the outside goes Bono House as he takes 3rd place. Yuri Toman and Josh Rogers go side by side for 4th further back as it's 3 wide for 6th place. Maus very much involved through the middle battles Kaiki Oliveira, and round the outside, it's a great start from Jeffrey Rietveldt into the Mercedes arena. They make a lot of contact. It's still free wide off the turn, and into the grass goes one of the Mouse drivers, catches it. Oh, and now there's contact. There's the deal sealed, and one of the Mouse drivers, unfortunately, will be out here in semi-final number 2. What a dramatic start.
Yeah, it's Kasdorp. Kasdorp would be the one that got spun around and all of that. Just highly dramatic in all of that. Big send from Jeffrey Rietveldt. Got pinched in there as well. The contact took them to the outside of the circuit. It's been a disaster start for Mouse. Yuri Kasdorp definitely out of proceedings. Moritz Lerner having to defend from Kevin Siggy and James Baldwin. But what an absolutely insane start. As there's contact in the background as Kevin Siggy manages to push off James Baldwin, who'll surely be seething inside that Mercedes.
I would think so. After that, he was pushed straight onto the gravel, but Siggy will, of course, argue that he was going for a gap that just wasn't there. What a start, by the way, for Jeffrey Rietveldt. Speaking of Team Redline, Rietveldt got a slowdown in qualifying. He's made up 4 places on the opening lap. That is remarkable at any circuit. Never mind the Nürburgring. Johan Hartmann made up 1 place. Kaiki Oliveira is roughly where he started this one, just outside the top 6. Unfortunately, it's not been a very good start for Mouse, but Jeffrey Rietveldt has had a wonder start there.
Yeah, truly incredible. Honestly, to get into that position already on the first lap, I don't think anyone was predicting that one post-race. The outrageous send to have made that one 3 wide. Brilliant stuff and opportunistic driving from the Dutchman. Would probably ideally want to pick up another couple of spots to make that one secure, as Johan Harth is looking to put himself into 7th position. Looking down the inside of touch from Kaiki Oliveira, as we can see Moritz Lerner also closing in. I mean, this is the thing, is that if you're going to make those positions, we saw it from Yuri Kasdorp yesterday, you have to do them early. If you leave it to too late in the race, you will not make those moves up.
Oh, yeah. Hard knows that right now, doesn't he? Late on the brakes there into turn 3, very nearly into the back of Kaiki Oliveira, the Brazilian. He's just on the back of another one of the BMWs, that's Jeffrey Rietveldt. Then in 5th place is Yuri Toman. Josh Rogers is up to 4th off the start. Bono House is up to 3rd. In a great performance from the Mercedes driver, Nico Nemuzewski and Sebastian Joe lead the race at the moment. But this is the all-important part of the battle. Jeffrey Rietveldt holding on to 6th place at the moment. He'll have some defending to do throughout this race. There's still a very long way to go.
Yeah, certainly so. There's the fastest lap being set from Sebastian Job, trying to pull out a decent margin on Nikodem Wisniewski, tight margins all the way down. As we can see, Jeffrey Rietveldt, I mean, the thing that we were seeing before, obviously we've seen this throughout the season before, like the tyres on the BMW go off quite quickly. I have noticed around here, the Audi also does its tyres in quite significantly. It's what makes Yuri Toman actually so strong around here, because he's so good at looking after his tyres. There's a look to the outside. I mean, how good's this? Leaves it on the inside. I don't know if they don't know if they're 3 wide or whatever, but you know, it's being pushed to its limit. If you're 3 wide through there, that's what's going to happen.
The last bit of contact there, I think, was Yuri Kasdorp's fault. Went straight to the side of his teammate Moritz Lerner. But for me there, Rietveldt, it was a very similar situation to what we had at Gamers 8, wasn't it? Rietveldt has basically, in my opinion, taken the corner almost to the racing line. He's given enough space for Oliveira, maybe just. He's certainly not accounted for Yuri Kasdorp on the outside there. Didn't give enough room, in my opinion, for the cars on the outside. And that race control will surely be looking at everything that happened on turn 1, because the bottom 7 or so, 7 or 8, were absolutely at each other's throats there in the opening lap of this one. That will be sorted out in race control, of course, but in my opinion, Rietveldt has played it pretty close to the line in terms of what was legal there.
Got the race leader there on the right-hand side, Sebastian Job, at the moment sitting in 1st place. I do agree, by the way, you can definitely see it from the above angle that we got there. It's all about, you know, when does the track end? Because from a theoretical point of view, the track ends at the white line. Although this is the Nürburgring after all, so, you know, who knows? But, you know, if the track ends at the white line, then he's not really given room to for Kaiki Oliveira to remain on the race. I guess it's kind of how you see it from that point of view. I absolutely agree. I think there was enough room for 1 car, but maybe not 2. But maybe that's the risk we take from being 3 wide. Basically, we're not in race control, so thankfully that's someone else's problem. Here is Kaiki Oliveira. Is known on the team for being an absolute machine, hyper-focused. Well, he needs that right now if he's going to pick up an extra position and get his way back past Jeffrey Rietveldt. I guess it might be dealt with post-race. He doesn't want to wait till post-race. He wants to deal with it now.
and I would deal with it now. It's a very different situation, isn't it, to what we saw with Darren McCormack in the last race. McCormack, all he had to do was give that position over to Bennett, and that was easy. But who's Rebo going to give the position over to? He's not going to give it to Kastrup, is he? Or Oliveira, he was involved. Would you do that? You know, is there going to be a penalty post-race? You know, there's a lot to work out here, and it's not as simple as the one for McCormack was. I don't think so. It's a difficult one to call to make. I think you're absolutely right. Kaiki Oliveira is just going to worry about this race and this race only, as if almost nothing has happened preceding this one. He's just going to go for it in the final 5 laps, no matter what. Out of the final corner they go right now. Top 4 getting away, really. It's Joe Wisniewski, House and Rogers, who are feeling pretty safe to get into another final.
Bono's the one that set the fastest lap in all of that. Sits 6/10 off the rear end of Nikodem Wisniewski, who I've known Nikodem for a long time. I've battled Nikodem Wisniewski in a championship before. I know that he will absolutely go for a move if one is even remotely on the horizon. So as much as we saw, you know, maybe not anything too bold in the previous race for Maximilian Benneker on Jamie Fluke, I think we will see something potentially from Wisniewski on Sebastian Job. Maybe he's a different driver now. Who knows? That was a few years ago.
Just a few, about 7. But yes, I mean, we would have expected that from Max Benneker as well, wouldn't we, in the first semi-final, and that didn't quite materialise. So I'm not entirely sure. Maybe Benneker was thinking about Monza and the fact that he didn't make it through to the final because of a move that he didn't need to make. Well, I suppose he would have got points for it, but didn't really need to make. Would have gotten into the final and so on. You know, maybe he was thinking a little bit about that, but even so, I think we are going to see a stalemate at the front for the moment as we have a look at James Baldwin. He's very close to Kevin Siggy here. You don't often see moves into this left-hander, and Baldwin knows that as well. He backs out of it on the way in towards turn 10 on that occasion. Still very close from Breitbelt on backwards, really. There's a similar situation again. 7 drivers fighting for that last spot inside the top 6.
What are we making at the start of the season, though, for James Baldwin? Obviously, got into the semi-finals at Monza, did not get through into the final, got knocked out in the quarters in the previous 2 races, looking to get knocked out in the semi-finals once more, 4 rounds into the season, halfway in, and we are yet to see Baldwin into a final. Weirdly enough, for the team, Bono House, if he is to make it through to the final, it'll be the first time that we see Mercedes in a final in the full season.
It would be, absolutely. I mean, who would have thought that at the start of the season, by the way? You know, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, whatever it was, who would have thought that? Not me, certainly. But Bono House is the one to do it at the moment. And to be honest, I'll say this with all respect to Bono House, who's won a lot in sim racing, the Vegas Sim races, won multiple championships, multiple times in a row. But I wouldn't have expected him to be the one to get into the final. You'd more expect it from the likes of a James Baldwin or a Marco Pajic, maybe, to get into that final. Not Bono House, but this is one of the best performances I've seen from him in quite some time in ESL R1.
Well, we were having some casual conversations, let's put it that way, in Riyadh about, you know, what the Mercedes have to do, because they were obviously slightly, you know, dare I say it, fairly average at points in there across the entirety of the team. We know that Marco and James have been standout drivers for the squad, and so we were having a little bit of casual discussion, like, right, what does Mercedes do if they want to go and challenge, you know, higher up in the team's championship? And everyone kind of points fingers at maybe being like, do they have to replace Bono and Graham? And, you know, at the moment, Bono is showing absolutely not so. Highest driver in the championship for the Mercedes-AMG team. So there's that. And there we go. You can see once again confirmation that he's previously won the Formula E Vegas E-race that happened in 2016. Of course, won Formula Racing World Championship in 2010 and 2014. Won the R-Factor Formula Pro Championship. All these ones that we're listing off here, though, as to your point, are open-wheel champions. He does not win often in GTs. His teammate does, though, and is now working his way through on Kevin Siggy.
That was aggressive from Siggy, but I think just about within the bounds of being legal. This is a fight for 10th place, and it's a fight for points, really. They're not going to make it to the final at this rate. Is that a good enough run from James Baldwin, really, to have a go? It might be, as he looks for a top 10. Is he going to be late enough on the brakes in the Mercedes? It will tuck in behind the very tall BMW. Siggy will go on the defensive, and it's a late-braking manoeuvre from James Baldwin right round the outside. A slide on the way in from the red line driver as well. James Baldwin will have the inside for turn 2 and 3. 3, but he'll need to get it done before 4 because that's when the advantage will turn back to Kevin Siggy again. Side by side they go through the Mercedes arena, and it's the Mercedes that prevails through turn 4. Meanwhile, it's not a Mercedes prevailing here. Bono House under big pressure from Josh Rogers, who pushes it wide, and Yuri Toman will try and go through.
Certainly does. Bono House having to settle himself, sit in 5th position. His long teammate in Jeffrey Reed will be the next one to come through. Those were teammates when Bono House was winning those 5 World Champs. I was talking about an FSR, so they've known each other for a very long time. Maybe I kind of actually get the feeling that Bono turned left into the side of Josh Rogers on the entry into the corner, so that might have been a little bit of that. Danko was able to keep it on the road, but I'm sure his heart rate went from being fairly calm to shooting through the roof in quite literally a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think so, because there was a moment there where I thought he was going to be off into the grass and the gravel, and he would be outside the top 6 entirely, because look at how close it is. There's not exactly room for error here. 2 laps to go when they get to the line. Rietveld closes in on Bono House here as well, and he's not really receiving pressure now from Kaki Oliveira. I think Johan Hart is arguably strong enough to try and go through here, but if they start to fight there for that 7th place, then surely the top 6 will get away from the rest of the field. Out through the chicane they go. Look at how close Hart is. Surely if he was able to get through, he would be a bit quicker, but that's going to cost them time.
It kind of disgusts me a little bit. We've got 2 laps left to go, and I think Verasti might be correct that Sebastian James is going to win this one easily. He's pulled out now to 7/10 of a second. He's running away at the front of the field. Wisniewski obviously with a second over Rogers. It's behind all of that where all the drama and all the battling is. At the moment, Oliveira's not quite close enough to do anything on Rietveld. You've pointed it out exactly. Half been trying to do something about P7 and Oliveira. But at the moment, the only real move, the only proper move that we've seen mid-race, or moves, has been from Baldwin on Siggy around the outside of T1 that gave the inside line through the Mercedes arena section. And of course, that move that we saw the final part of between Rogers and House. We don't know how that one started, which would assume would have been side by side through that Mercedes arena section, leading to them running out down towards turn 5 side by side.
Yeah, I would expect it to have started at turn 1 and gone the way through the Mercedes arena. But a very heart-in-mouth moment for the Mercedes driver, Bono House. He is now 5th. Jeffrey Rietveld 6th, then it's Kaki Oliveira, then Johan Hart as we continue this penultimate lap of the race. Moritz Lerner, James Baldwin, Kevin Siggy, and Yuri Kasdorp also not making it as things stand. We've known that for quite some time with Kasdorp. Kevin Siggy beginning to slip from the back of the field as well. James Baldwin showing decent pace, but that slowdown in qualifying has really punished him, as you'd expect it to be. It's just difficult to make up those places, unless, of course, your name is Jeffrey Rietveld, in which case you've made up 4 places so far in this semi-final.
Certainly so. Well, Johan Harvey will be frustrated, but the Apex Racing team will surely be happy they've got at least 2 cars into the final. It could still be 3. We've got 1 final lap to deal with in all of this, but again, the slipstream, the fact that Rietveld's getting that slipstream from House, but Oliveira's getting that slipstream from Rietveld, it's even that, Harvey's getting lots of different slipstream, but it's not really, it's negligible at this point. I wonder if all the drivers working their way through, though, they've definitely seen what Rietveld did in the first lap, and they're thinking, right, let's do everything on lap 1 in the final. Surely we've got to.
It could be interesting, the opening lap of the final. Let's wait and see on that one. Huff was very nearly close enough for a dive there. You saw how close he got to the back of the BMW just in front of him. Is it going to be a little bit of a lunge through the Mercedes arena? I don't think for the Apex Racing team driver. Oliveira just hasn't quite had the pace here, unfortunately, for Furia, and it looks like he is going to get knocked out in the semi-final phase here tonight for round 4. Out through turn 4 they go right now. Oliveira still under that pressure. He sort of seems a bit frustrated with himself, to be honest, but 7th place is still another decent haul of points. I think it will be another 6 points to his name, and that will give him a nice tally for the round overall. He keeps steadily building on those points, and he's well inside the top 24. As things stand, we approach the halfway mark of this season.
Yeah, for Team Red Line, for Jeffrey Rietveld at the moment, we're looking at the first final for him this season. Kaki Oliveira has been in the last 2 finals, so unless things change post-race, maybe Kaki Oliveira is looking for his 3rd consecutive final, but at the moment we'll have to settle for just the 2. Indeed, I'm not sure if anyone's made it through to all of the finals. I think Erhan Yofsky has, but I'm not sure if anyone else has made it through the finals. It's been highly dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. Toman, maybe? Don't know. Don't think so. Anyway.
Toman has as well, yes, that's right.
Yes, okay. Sebastian Job, so though, is certainly going to be making it through to this final in round number 4. He has won 2 rounds out of 3 so far. Is he going to make it 3 in 4? What an achievement that would be. It's a pretty decent achievement right now for him to win semi-final number 2. Another 25 points and another race win in ESL R1 for Sebastian Job as he makes his way over the line to take his 9th win in ESL R1 history, just half a second in front of Nikodem Wisniewski and Josh Rogers, who joined him on the podium. Sebastian Job will be a favourite once again in another final in ESL R1. Round 4, semi-final number 2, will go to the only G2 Esports driver to have made it through the knockout stages. He just makes it in front of Nikodem Wisniewski, of course, who makes it into the final as well, Lewis, for Williams Esports. He finished in 2nd despite not feeling entirely fantastic at the moment. He still knows how to get through these semi-finals. There he is. He'll be in that final 12 as well.
Yeah, for Wisniewski, you know, he's had a decent run. We'll take a look at the replays through the race as well. As never mind. It was obviously starting from the front row. Was not able to quite get past Sebastian Job in the first corner, but I almost thought he had a better start than Sebastian Job, but had to fend off Bonner House.
Yeah, I think if no one else was around, then he would have challenged Jobin towards turn 1, but he had House right behind. Toman was there, Rogers was there, and he knew that if he challenged too hard on this opening lap, then he would have been going backwards again and again and again. So Wisniewski in the end just settled for 2nd here, and in the end didn't exactly get too close to the race leader, Sebastian Job. It was never a big challenge. I know you thought he might go for it, Lewis, but in the end he was never really close enough.
No, I think Sebastian Job's pace towards the end of the stint was just far too much for the Polish driver. We'll have to settle for just the win yesterday and a 2nd place here, and a final appearance where maybe top honours will be taken for the number 33. Who knows in all of that? We will be joined, by the way, because I believe that Jeffrey Rietveld will be ready for an interview in just a moment, and we've got to catch up with him about that fantastic start to the race. But before we do that, Jeffrey Rietveld, are you here? Can you hear me? And what happened in qualifying, good sir?
Yeah, it's very scattered about qualifying, to be honest. Sector 1 was great, Sector 2 was great, and then to off-track it in the final chicane. I mean, if I didn't off-track it, it would have been pole for sure. So, yeah, not too happy about that.
But you did translate that quite well to the start of the race. Unbelievable start. Talk about that 3-wide move on the exit of the Mercedes Arena section. We've got a couple of replays on our screen. I'm sure it'll be one of those earlier on. How does that move come about? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, at the start, you know that you need to make top 6, right, to go through. So you will take a bit of risk, of course. And I saw a big gap on the inside, so I just decided to go for it. I think I was fully alongside. And then in the arena section, it's quite hard to carry a lot of momentum around the outside, but I knew I had to, right? And I can see it's 3 wide there. I didn't even know it was 3 wide at that moment, because Oliveira already pushed me into an off-track on the inside. So, yeah, very close race, but I think it was fair.
Obviously, hopefully going through into a final now. Obviously, depends on what happens to race control and that kind of stuff. What do you think your chances are? You know you're quite strong around here, and it's a good track. It's a strong track. Are you going to change anything, maybe with how you're going to treat the NGK chicane in qualifying potentially after the slowdown?
Yeah, if I make it through to the final, then I'll have to take the chicane a bit more careful, I guess. If I do the same Sector 1 and Sector 2 with a careful chicane, then it's still good enough for pole, I think, based on the lap times I've seen today. So, yeah, let's see.
What are your thoughts on what's been happening with Redline in this? Obviously, Kevin Siggy, another one who got the slowdown. We saw that in qualifying. Wasn't quite as elbows out as you were on the start of the race. Wasn't able to make up those positions. Didn't see the opportunity that you saw. Thoughts of the team? Is there still positive vibes, or are things tough?
For us, it's a tough time at the moment. I mean, we are not happy where the car is in terms of balance, and yeah, we really struggle with it, to be honest. So it's very difficult to nail a qualifying lap. You can be fast with the car, but it's just extremely hard to drive at the moment. So yeah, hopefully there will be some changes after round 5, and then we might be a bit more competitive, I hope.
And finally, before I let you go off and get yourself prepared for that final, obviously we've got a long way to run before we go to Sweden. But are you guys kind of already thinking about that? Obviously, with the Rensport Summit, obviously in the spring major, the points you scored through the season was such a high priority to how things affected. Are you already thinking about that kind of stuff, picking off points and picking off positions to score as much as you can in preparation of that, not just getting inside the top 24?
Yeah, but we take it race by race, obviously. Like the field is so competitive, it's so tight. Like top 10 is within top 7, top 8 is within 1/10 most of the time, right? So we take it race by race, try to maximize every race, and yeah, that's the only thing we do right now. And then at the end of the season, we will see where we end up.
Now, Jeff, I have just received some bad news in my ear that there's been a penalty dished out, a 1-second time penalty for you from race control. And so that will drop you now to 7th place, and we'll switch things up. Give me a rundown on your emotions right now. How are you feeling right now? Was that expected? Was it still part of it?
Well, that's a bit gutty, of course. Not sure if it's entirely fair, the penalty, but I mean, yeah, what can you do, right? Like, I had to go for the move. If they deem that I did something wrong, then yeah, there's not much else I can do.
Is there anything that you kind of settle with in your mindset right now, or is it just kind of like, what are you going to go and do now? I mean, obviously you're frustrated. You're still going to pay attention to the final, support the team and stuff.
I will watch the final with Bennett then. It's that simple. I think the race control has been questionable throughout the whole season, so it doesn't really surprise me that they penalize me for this move as well. They want to see racing, and if you give them racing, you get a penalty. So yeah, what can you do?
Well, I'm sure it's a very frustrating time, Jeff. We'll let you get off anyway, and very unfortunate there.
Yeah, cheers.
Oh, Jazz, there we go. Crazy.
Oh my word, that was like a roller coaster of emotions, I'm not gonna lie. I'm literally looking at all of my notes here, and it's like how great Jeffrey Rietveld was doing and how much of a big achievement it was for him to go from 10th to 6th. But heartbreaking scenes there from him, and for him ultimately as well. I didn't see that one coming. What's your outlook on it?
I mean, look, I kind of agree. Me and you have kind of discussed this. I think it was potentially a little bit aggressive from Jeff, but I think he brings up actually a really, really solid point in there, which is, we want to see good racing. We want to see people taking the risks and going for the moves and stuff. But when they're always kind of sat there being like, if I try anything, I'm going to get a penalty from doing so. There is that kind of thing of sometimes there needs to be a little bit of maybe even like let them race. But then, motorsports are fundamentally, it's a non-contact sport. It's a really difficult one. And it's one that whatever way you go about it from race control, you will be irritating someone. You'll either give someone a penalty for something which is just on the line, or you won't give them a penalty. It's going to irritate one side of the pie. That's racing.
I always love hearing from the driver's perspective, though, as well, because I feel like we can sit here, theorize, and have our own opinions and outlook on it. But when you're very much there in the sim rig racing yourself, I think emotions are definitely heightened at that point, most definitely. We saw a couple instances of risk versus reward and trying to go in for those overtakes. We saw Rogers successfully overtake Bono House as well. What did you make of that one? Do you feel like that was something that he necessarily needed to do in that race?
I mean, he's looking to go and move himself up to towards the top end of the points. Obviously, he struggled a little bit of that back in Hockenheim Ring with a slowdown penalty in semi-final 2. So he needs to make up that ground. And we've said it before, there are points now for every position in the semi-finals. And so if you do go from 4th into 3rd, you gain an extra few points. I think that's what he's focused on right now. Sebastian Jay's winning the race. He needs to at least remain as close as he can.
Just a little hair flick. Don't mean to say I told you so.
All right. All right.
Well, joining me very shortly, I'll have Eamon Murphy representing G2 Esports on the broadcast for a grilling, for a little bit of an interview. But before we do that, let's go ahead and check out what Dara McCormack's backseat driving is like.
My expectations, I'm going to hit a lot of walls and grass.
Lights, 5 lights, go. Slide to right, and apex, right, yeah. A bit more right, perfect, a bit more right, and brake. And right. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. More right. Yeah, right. Like that. Straight. A bit more right. A bit more right. You're on the left and left. That's good. Keep going. You're on the entry curb. Keep going. Brake and right. Fully right. Yeah, and left. I got the sausage curve. That's good.
100 and whatever degrees.
And right. Right. Yep. Keep going right. Can you see the track? What the fuck?
No.
And
what do you mean I can see the track?
Keep going. Left. Yeah, go into banking. Left. Keep going left. More right. In the last corner. Yep. Yeah. Keep going right. And straight ahead. Full throttle. Straight ahead, full throttle. Yes. Nice. 308.
Oh.
Especially at the beginning, it was so good. Like
was it?
2 and 3, it's something you could see.
Really? Ay.
I feel like, well, obviously it could have been better, but I think it's all right. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna put our team name.
I think Kuba was a great instructor compared to me. my directions were terrible. Going straight, all right, left about 60 degrees. 60. No. Oh,
Right,
sorry, right. Fuck.
I was like, what the hell?
So, thank you, Kuba.
Yeah, I mean, you are a better driver than me as well, I think. So
I tried to image the track in my head.
Yeah.
But you said where I was, and I just reacted.
that was really good fun, to be honest.
Yeah, that was actually really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.
I don't know. I feel like he definitely could have seen the track because there is no way on earth he was able to get a time that fast and drive within the track limits as well. But joining us, I did promise, we have Eamon Murphy. Eamon, it's been a while since we've had a chit chat. I'm loving the headset as well.
Yeah, it's not pink, it's magenta.
It's alright, it could be pink if you want it to be pink anyway. I'm not judging. I'm wearing a pink shirt right now as well. Eamon, how's life been since the last time we caught up?
It was really, really good last week. But yeah, yesterday was a bit of a disaster, but put it behind us.
Put it behind us, go next. So for anybody that isn't completely aware on who Eamon Murphy is, chat to us a little bit about your journey entering sim racing. Where did it all start? Give us a bit of a TLDR.
Here we go. Now we're going back the years. When did I even start? I started probably, I think, like 2016. I came back from Australia. I was over in Australia for a while, and I had a bit of money, so I bought a wheel and pedals, and I've been stuck doing it ever since. It's like an addiction.
Talk to us about last week. You say you came off like quite a high, by the way, which was 4th place. Didn't quite get that podium in the final. Your previous best finish, I think, was 9th, if I remember correctly. I mean, like you say about the journey through your sim race, well, to get to that point, it's still moving forward.
Still trying to move forward. My age is moving forward as well, unfortunately, and I think that's maybe where I'm lacking some of the reaction times compared to these younger boys. But look, I'll keep pushing until the day I get my P45 in the post, basically.
I'm loving the fact that you're mentioning the reaction speeds. Now, I have to ask you, obviously, it's no secret, I do a lot of CSGO events and hosting as well. Do you think that the reaction speeds are more important for sim racing or CS?
That's a tough one. I don't know.
Choose wisely, Eamon.
Yeah, I don't have to. This could be my last day. Probably. I think. I know I couldn't play CS:GO, not a chance. But that's just because I'm useless at anything that involves aiming and shooting at things. So.
Okay, yeah, because driving doesn't involve aiming.
I'll give it to CS because they're probably making a bit more than us.
Oh dear. Do you obviously being a part of G2 and stuff, which is an organisation which is everywhere in esports, including playing CS right now? Do you pay attention to any of that kind of stuff? Like that's kind of like the important thing. I kind of wonder with this because you've now got someone to support on that side of things, especially against Mouse right now.
Well, it was pretty cool seeing them lifting the title over at Katowice. But bar that, I don't really watch much else other than some stuff to do with motorsport, honestly. And I think it's kind of like it's a mindset for a lot of people that are in the car. It's either cars or nothing else.
All right, well, I don't know if you've noticed, but Mals are well and truly, firing shots not only in CSGO, but also on social media at G2. What do you think? Do you feel like G2 would be better than them in sim racing as well as CSGO? Or are you confident that G2 on top?
I'd say if we were in the Audi, it would be a bit closer, yeah.
Ooh.
But as it stands, it's like driving a car with 3 wheels. So
are you telling me that Sebastian Job's winning races in a car with 3 wheels?
Mate, he put in a banger quali lap and somehow dragged that car to still on the P1. So fair play to him.
Now, for you guys as the drivers, are there any real kind of pressures representing an organisation as big as G2 that is so prominent in other esports titles like the CSGOs and things like that?
Oh, well, there's no doubt, as much as the joking and stuff goes on and social media and everything, but there's only one reason that we're here, and the reason we're here is we want to win. So it's no different between CSGO and between ESL R1. The main goal is to go out and be first teams, first drivers, and that's it.
Kind of have this thing, almost to go back to the about your journey in sim racing stuff, because obviously you've been in sim racing for a long time. You've seen it change quite a fair amount. Now, what's it like? Obviously, like I say, now we're getting this whole thing of banter between teams and stuff. We're getting this inter-community and stuff where we're seeing stuff from CS and Rocket League and stuff, all mixing in with what we're seeing here in sim racing. How has that change kind of affected you as a driver, as a person sort of getting involved with the social media side of things? Because that's been one of the most interesting changes that I've seen in sim racing.
I don't really know if I don't really spend a lot of time on social media. I try to stay away from it, or I'll end up getting banned. But I think R1, the R1 league, I think it'll definitely improve. Whenever you see these bigger prize pools and stuff, it starts to garner a lot more attention. So sim racing's been on the rise from whenever I was doing it, it was only wee small Xbox leagues and stuff like that. But it's just, it's like an exponential curve. It just keeps going up and up and up. So who knows, maybe we'll get a CS crossover some of these years.
That would certainly be really cool to see. And I'll tell you what, at the next event, Eamon, I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to play CSGO. Is that a deal?
Yeah, I hope you've got a whole day booked off, do you?
That's content if ever I've seen it. Now, Eamon, you're going to go through our driver lineup for our finals, and you're going to give me a little bit of your thoughts and your feelings. Taking a look at this final lineup, is there anybody in particular from this that you really, really hate racing against?
That I hate racing against?
Yeah.
Probably from P1 down to P12. You don't. There's no one that you like racing against whenever you're racing against the caliber of drivers in this. But for the final, hopefully Seb can pull off another banger lap. Beneke is going to be quick. Toman, Chinchik, you go down the list, everyone's going to be quick. Everyone on that list, I think, has a chance of winning, apart from Seb, who's actually going to win.
Ooh, I like that.
Well, I've got his prediction straight in. Goodness me, I was that's mad. Do you kind of enjoy sitting back? And obviously, yes, you'd rather be in the race for sure. But do you kind of enjoy sitting back and seeing someone like Seb, winning?
Well, it's as much as it's a wee bit soul destroying at times. It's a team game. The amount of work we're putting in the background, and I'd like to think he wouldn't be able to do it all on his own. Maybe he would be. Maybe we'll have to try that out some week. We'll do nothing and Sebby does it all himself and see if he can still come first. But look, no. In terms of the team and stuff, this is all about the team's championship. With the points reset, whenever it goes to Sweden for the top 24, we just want as many points for the teams as possible, and hopefully we can have all of us in the top 24 come Sweden. So go Seb.
Amazing. Go Seb. We're Team Seb over here in this camp. I'd just like to say that I got my prediction of Seb winning the previous race correct, so just throwing that one out there. But are there any final words you want to give to people that have been supporting you guys so far?
Do people support us?
I support you.
Thanks for the support, everyone.
Thanks.
The jersey and everything.
Yeah. Have you ever put it on? Did you even take the tag off it?
No, I didn't take the tag off because I'm keeping it mint when I sell it for millions on eBay.
Oh, okay. Right, fair enough. I must keep the tag from the rest of mine then.
Oh dear, terrible.
That's your moment to give a shout out, by the way, Eamon. You could just say like a cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks
Man.
for joining us, Eamon. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. See you later. Enjoy commentating on the race.
Oh dear.
What a guy, honestly. Every single time we have a chat with him, it's so funny. But maybe a little bit more serious on this side of the next interview. We've got Alex Simpson from the side of Apex Racing Team. How's it going, Alex? How have things been for you and the team watching the races today?
Yeah, been a good day so far. Pretty happy with the first race. It's good for Jamie to get that result, get that win. He's proper smiling. So yeah, it's good to see that Jamie.
Now, how have the team really been approaching this race? Because I think it was a little bit unexpected for everybody for Jamie to manage to take away that victory. Have there been any sort of key changes or differences in the routine for yourself and the team?
No real changes. I mean, I think every driver on this grid needs to be given the credit that they deserve because they are all ridiculously quick. And actually, I think any of them really could win. And it really comes down to whether or not they kind of hit their laps that they've perhaps been doing all week in testing, and those that perhaps don't do it. And Jamie obviously nailed his, and I feel like you can ask him. I'm sure he would have said, perhaps some of the other guys didn't quite execute, and he was there, and he's always had really good, strong race pace as well, and he was really able to show it. But I feel like any of the team really, and across all of the teams in the ESL R1, I think have got the capability of winning. It's just all about execution on the day. We've got the guys back in their proper team room. You can see the rigs behind me. They were sort of in our customer rigs for the first couple of races, so perhaps it's a little bit more them feeling a bit more settled, a bit more home, away from some of the hustle and the bustle that goes on here at the Sim Centre. And they were able to kind of nail it. So maybe that, but I feel like just they nailed it on the day.
And how have they really been adapting to obviously the new Merc as well? Do you feel like that could have factored into it at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall they're all pretty happy with the Merc. There was definitely some advantages that were taken away from it a little bit, more with just sort of like the track corner cuts that have few of the drivers have been kind of talking about as well. It's a little bit harder just to nail it now that they're a little bit tighter than what they were previously. That's definitely one of the weaknesses I think they would say that the Audi had, was just kind of over the curbs as well. So I do chuckle at the last interview. They say everyone wants the Audi, but we couldn't wait to get out of the Audi, to be honest. So I think they'll be gravely mistaken once they actually get in it for a season.
It's one of those cases where you always want what you don't have, right? For a lot of these drivers.
The grass is always greener, right?
Yeah, 100%. Now, I can see in your background, as you did mention, you are currently in the Apex Racing Team facilities. Talk to me, what kind of things do you guys have available for yourself and the boys?
Yeah, so I mean, like I say, you can't quite see them because they're kind of right behind me in their own little private room. So they've all got their own rigs that they kind of use in there, and we've got someone just going to gate crash the interview. There goes Elvis, and yeah, so they've got their own sort of centre there. Across the actual way, we have sort of renovated the top floor of the office block into apartments, which is where they basically sleep and have their lunch. It's kind of their space. They do what they want kind of over here. And then this is kind of like the business side of things. Right behind me, you see like the customer area. This is where people can come and hire out the rigs, and you'll see like our other sort of remote drivers. They will come and do special events and long endurance events from here, and we just have a bit of a gathering and a bit of fun. Upstairs, we've kind of got our broadcast suite and our broadcast studio, which you may have seen us do some interviews and things like that from in the past.
My goodness, it sounds like a little bit of a mansion, a little bit crazy, lots of things going on, definitely. I'm going to definitely put in a special request for us to have a little bit of a tour and a behind-the-scenes peek at everything that goes on at Apex Racing Team. But thank you so much for joining me.
Good.
Yeah, I would love that. Let's get it in the books and we'll make it happen. I just want to say a huge thanks to you for joining me on the broadcast. Any words you want to give to the boys that are watching right now?
Yeah, I just wish them the best of luck in this next race. Let's see if we can get a 1-2 and get some amazing team points. And he's doing it again. Look at that.
He's definitely
I'll get him later,
running
don't
right
worry.
now. All right, well, thank you so much. From my side, I want to go ahead and check in to see what the expectations and hopes are for the side of R8G and Nijovski in particular.
Yesterday's race wasn't a smooth sailing, so to say, because I was on a good lap in qualifying, but I messed up the chicane and I lost quite a bit of time. And in the race, I burnt my tires way too quickly, so I just had to settle for 5th place. I hope that today it goes better.
I think all you can do is really put in the time, the effort, the dedication to try and bring it on back for yourself and for your team. Lewis, I see you smiling a little bit. I'm seeing a little bit of a smirk. Is that because of the interviews that we've just had?
Well, no, it's because Erhan looked absolutely and sounded absolutely thrilled. But no, I will say, obviously, shout out to Elvis Rankin there, just absolutely getting himself on this broadcast somehow. He can't get through into a semi-final, but he will be on the Friday broadcast in the ESL R1. Boom, shots fired. I've been there, by the way. I have been to the Apex Racing facility.
How is it?
It's actually really nice. It's really, really clean. Thankfully, I didn't have a go.
I love how you've had to specify really clean when you're talking about gamers.
I didn't mean it in a dirty sense. I mean it like it's the design is clean, but also it was actually tidy. So they do look after it in that way. I didn't check out the accommodation side of things though, so who knows?
There's still a chance to go back. Let's go back. Let's make some content. But let's also have a chat about all of the drivers we have for our finals this time around. I know Eamon Murphy did a fantastic job of taking us through that. But Lewis, maybe you can give me even further insight.
Well, yeah, we'll take a look at all of our drivers in the final, of which 8 find themselves in the top 10 in the points. So we're pretty strong. A few of those, further down, like Bunnerhouse, find themselves inside the top 24, sure, but would very much like to see themselves towards the top. I mean, it's a tough one. It's a strong one. There's a lot of favourites to take this victory. Sebastian Job, obviously, at the top of all of those after that win of the semi-final. Maximilian Benneker looking for back-to-back wins in the ESL R1 in the finals. And, of course, then we get into the G2 at the top and the Mouse in second spot. And I think the big talk from that is that they're going toe-to-toe in this as well as in CS.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to put my prediction out there, not for sim racing just yet, but for CS, I think G2 on top. I think G2's going to win out versus Mouse quite... I'm not going to say comfortably. Not going to say comfortably this time, but G2 will win in CS. Do I think they're going to win in sim racing too? You bet your ass I think they're going to win in sim racing too. What do you think?
I mean, I will say on the CS side of things, when I first looked earlier, G2 were looking very strong at the start. I think they're playing Mirage at the moment, but they were looking very strong at the start, and it's all kind of fallen apart a little bit, and now it's really, really tight. So I kind of want to blow this broadcast off and go, no, I'm joking. I am going to go... I'm going to go mouse on that side of things.
But which one, CS or sim racing?
In CS.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to lean towards mouse. In sim racing, I'm saying neither. I'm saying R8G, and I'm saying Marcel Chinchik.
Ooh, okay. I'm liking that. Curveball being thrown our way. What about you, Ewan? I want one for CS and one for sim racing.
Well, I don't know a single thing about CS. I've got to be honest with you. I've never seen it in my life. I don't even know what it looks like. I don't know what the aim is. Terrible.
You're trolling.
Terrible. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm just a terrible gamer. Anyway, yeah. Should I just go for Bows? Because I don't know. Maybe they'll win. I don't know.
Side with your father. Yes.
I can't go with any insight as to CS. In sim racing, though, I know slightly more, if only slightly. I'm going to go for Josh Rogers in this one. He's been quite quiet so far, but did show that he was one of the only drivers to actually able to make an overtake there, which is quite important, especially in the top 6. I know we saw lots of battling sort of on that fringe line between 6th and 7th and so on, but not many inside the top 6. Josh Rogers was really the only one to manage it, so I think he might take a win tonight.
You know, I'm kind of surprised that you don't really keep your eyes on CS, because I was surprised when I first entered sim racing. So many sim racers actually play CS and watch CS. Back at Gamers 8, I'm not sure if you remember, Lewis, but all of the Mouse boys were sat on the couch watching the Mouse team play their CS matches. So now I'm wondering, for the ones that don't make it through, what do? Do you have CS on one screen and sim racing on the other?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd be paying attention to both. I mean, I've got to say, I played CS quite a bit, but I'd never really watched CS until we went to IEM Katowice, and I actually had a really good time. I had an absolute blast watching CS there. So who knows? You know, maybe that's what Ewan has to do. He has to just sit down and watch it once and see how good it is.
Well, you know what? I have a blast watching some sim racing. So let's get the show on the road and talk to me a little bit more about how this final is going to go, fellas.
Yeah, we're in for a bit of a treat here, I think. It's going to be a tough one. We're not going to see a record-breaking lap, though, for pole position. That was courtesy of Joshua Rogers at Gamers 8 when he set that unbelievable 52.7. I don't think we're getting close to that. I think a 52.9, Ewan, will be good enough to take pole position around here, but it's just who is it going to come from?
Yeah, I said earlier on that a 52.9 may well be on the cards today. Is it going to come from one of these two? Not entirely sure, to be honest with you. Nioski has a decent pace. It always seems to be up there in the finals. Jamie Fluke took the pole position in semi-final number 1 and became the 28th different race winner in ESL R1 history. They'll be going head-to-head over the course of the 8 laps for the final tonight.
Yeah, of course, Nioski reaching all of the finals this season. Jamie Fluke making it to his first. Speaking of first and finals, Bonner House into his first final of the championship this season. Of course, Kaiki Oliveira was the driver that was fortuitous, courtesy of Jeffrey Rietveld's penalty, the 1 second time penalty that put Kaiki Oliveira in his 3rd consecutive final. Got a decent top 6 percentage, but that average grid position is the one that kind of concerns me. 7th and 6th. Well, if they qualify in those positions, I don't see them going too far forward unless they channel their inner Jeffrey Rietfeld and hopefully avoid that 1 second time penalty post-race.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned there that Oliveira was fortuitous. I would say he was pushed off, but anyway, that's a discussion that's been dealt with.
He was fortuitous, he got pushed off.
Well, you could say that as well, I suppose. Yeah, Rietveld's out and Oliveira in for the final, as it turns out. You are right, though. 6th and 7th in terms of average qualifying is not a great thing to see. I mean, we normally talk about being inside the top 3 to win in the final. I think we're going to have to go even further. Is pole position going to guarantee you the win? Probably not, but front row, I think you're probably going to need.
I think it must be a front row. I don't think we will see a winner lower than second. And to be fair, If I'm brutally honest, I think it has to be pole position. Unless someone's bowled in the last lap, I don't see it coming from outside of it. You know, the starts, they've got the starts down perfectly. Although, let's remember back to round 6, I think it was, of ESL R1 last season. Did Sebastian Jobe have pole position and then stalled on the race start, or jumped the race start, something like that? I think he had a drive-through for jumping the race start. So who knows? We'll hope that doesn't happen. And this one, here is my pick though. It's Marcel Cinčić out on the race circuit with the first driver in qualifying here in the final of ESL R1 round 4 in the full season. Can he do it again? We'll have to wait and see. Obviously has a victory in ESL R1. That was in the spring season in round 8. That was at the Hockenheim Ring. This will be a very different circuit for him to do the honours on.
Yeah, certainly. By the way, just on that point, further back, yeah, I do think it's going to be front row as well. Although the second place driver often, I think, has been conservative because of those behind them. Now in the final, are they going to be a little bit less conservative to try and go for the race win? I'm not entirely sure. Marcel Cinčić will set the benchmark then, and so far it's going all right. 36.2 is where you need to be, ideally, really, in terms of a time here. We're going towards a sort of 53.0 kind of region at the moment. Still half a lap to go, though.
Yeah, it's not mind-blowing in the first sector, but it's exactly what's needed. It's not quite that same degree of shock where we were seeing the sectors come in from Joshua Rogers back in Gamers 8 in Riyadh. Through to Michael Schumacher-S, that's one of the major risks of getting a slowdown penalty, navigates it brilliantly, but of course the one that will be focused on in everyone's mind at this point in the lap, like you said, you nail a lap time right up until this corner as they come to Varsteiner and out onto the back stretch through Ab van Bogen, and then all of your thoughts are, do not mess up the NGK chicane.
Absolutely, and that does often cloud your thoughts a little bit too much on the way into this final sector, because you can be on a good lap and throw it all the way right at the very end. So far, Cinčić is on a good lap. What's the final chicane like for him, though? It's within the white lines nicely. This should be a decent time.
Yeah, looking tidy. So we're aiming for a 53.0, hopefully a 52.9, although I don't think those second times are quite tracking towards it. It's a tidy lap time from Marcel Cinčić. We cannot see his reaction, but we'll see him across the line anyway. He'll head up to it, and it's a 53.098. I'll tell you now, that is not pole position.
Well, I don't know, but yeah, it's not going to guarantee him the pole position for the moment. I think it could sneak there, but we'll see. Time's a little bit slower today than maybe we were expecting. Certainly slower than what we saw in Gamers 8, as you mentioned, with Josh Rogers there, and that unbelievable qualifying session we saw in the eventual final round. It's Sebastian Jobe who will be next. He's the current championship leader, and he goes over the line. That is the provisional pole. Half a tenth better off than Marcel Cinčić. Still room for improvement there from the pack.
I actually thought he set the exact same lap time there for a brief second until our graphics updated. Put Sebastian Jobe back up to the front. Botterhouse looking really strong around the Nürburgring. Of course, Mercedes were victorious around there. You heard him linger on the throttle a little bit. Had to lift out of it just a touch on the exit of the NGK chicane. So I actually think might lose out in the final sector here. First and second are looking decent. Botterhouse across the line. I'm not too sure how pleased he is because he never shows emotion anyway. Across the line he'll go and will stay behind Cinčić. It did look not ideal through the NGK chicane. So Sebastian Jobe will remain in the bottom right on pole position cam.
Nikodem Wisniewski is going very well in the middle sector here. What about through the final chicane? That was quite nicely over the curbs there. This could be a good time from Nikodem Wisniewski as he makes his way into the final corner right now for Williams Esports, the only of their drivers to have made it through to the final after McCormack got knocked out in semi-final 1. Wisniewski over the line. It's a 52.9. The Polish driver is on pole at the moment by over a tenth of a second.
That is absolutely incredible from Nikodem Wisniewski. It will take a mega lap time for Joshua Rogers to dethrone him at the moment. The first sector's decent, the second sector's decent. The first sector's a little bit off of, a little bit faster than what Nikodem Wisniewski did. The second sector's a little bit off of what Wisniewski did. If they find themselves coming across the line in the same final sector, this will be very tight for pole position. It has to be a 52.9 from the record-setting lap time driver around the Nürburgring. Joshua Rogers will do it as he crosses the line. Is it good enough? It's not. It is a 52.9. But it is behind Nikodem Wisniewski. So one of the big rivals to Wisniewski in that pole position has not beaten him.
And you saw the punch of the air from Nico over the line. You saw another one as Rogers went over the line as he realised, I might be safe here, I might be all right, and I might get there. Max Benneker is going to be next as he makes his way around the final corner right now as well. Max Benneker over the line, a 52.9 as well, but it's not enough. This is a remarkable session. 3 drivers below that 153 mark so far.
Even he was shaking his head at that one. He kind of knew it, but you don't shake your head too often at lap times like that. You can see that Jovski was sick during rounds 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, sick with getting married, and he's got a slowdown, so he's not going to do anything in this one. He'll have to settle probably for the rear of the grid. I'm not sure how many slowdowns we're going to get in this one, but Jovski has been bitten by the NGK chicane, the one that we've seen bite so many drivers so far this Thursday and Friday, this round of ESL R1, and he's just 7th for Jovski.
Well, he's going to be very disappointed with that. Kevin Ellis Jr. is going all right for the moment. First sector is okay, second sector likewise. This is going to put him around the Joe Chinching marker, really, rather than that real top time of the 52.9s, although he could have put in a very good final sector, let's not forget. It's a 53.1 though, Kevin Ellis Jr. way down, 7th place for him. We'll see if Jamie Fluke can do any better.
Here comes Kaiki Oliveira then up towards that NGK chicane, trying to do something here to put Furia back onto the map. The lone Furia driver sneaking his way through into his 3rd consecutive final. Unfortunately, his final results aren't really that great, sadly, for Kaiki Oliveira. He's 11th and 12th in the previous 2, finds himself 13th in the standings. Out towards the line he'll go, and that'll probably be towards the back of the grid, unfortunately, once again for the Brazilian.
So Jamie Fluke now, pole position in semi-final 1. What's it going to be in the final? I'm afraid it's going to be a 53.1 or so, judging by this time at the moment. I think it's going to be right near his teammate Kevin Ellis Jr. The 2 Apex Racing team drivers have had a decent day, to be honest, getting into the final, getting the 2 of them in that final. But I don't think Jamie Fluke will be in the top 5 at the end of this time. Over the line he goes, and it is 8th place, very near to his teammate. Only 300 separate them. Wisdeski couldn't even bear to watch there for a moment. He's got 2 more drivers to survive. Toman and Bennett coming up.
Yeah, Toman's tracking to be in that same kind of battle that we saw with Ellis Jr. and Fluke, so I don't think he's going to be challenging for pole position. Those sector times aren't that great. We'll see how he navigates the final chicane. Nikodem Wisniewski remains on pole position. Cam in the bottom right of your screen. We'll see his emotion as each driver crosses the line, but there is 2 heavy hitters yet to come. Yuri Toman will be the first of those, and then Luke Bennett, a race winner here in round 3 of ESL R1, as Toman goes to 6th.
Not good enough for a 52 that time from Yuri Toman, just ahead of House, just behind Joe. What about Luke Bennett? He's won well a long time ago, back in the spring season, round 3 here at the Nürburgring, the first ever online round in ESL R1. What about this particular online round? It's round 4 of the 4th season. He's not going to be on pole here without a monumental final sector. It's not a bad final sector though. It's a low 53.0 to go 4th.
Yeah, and it means the top 4 are all different manufacturers as well. Tell me about the BOP once more as we take a look at the VRS starting grid for the final here in ESL R1 around 4. Erhan Jovski, after that slowdown penalty, will start from the final position on the grid with Kaiki Oliveira in his 3rd consecutive final, starting from 11th. Jamie Fluke, after his victory earlier on in the day, will start from 10th alongside his teammate Kevin Ellis Jr. on row 5, with Bunner House looking fantastic around here. Unfortunately, he'll be disappointed with that, qualifying just 8th place, with Yuri Toman and Marcel Chinchik, a couple of R8Gs as we get our way inside the top 5. Sebastian Job fresh with a victory in the semi-final. Luke Bennett will have to start this one from 4th. Maximilian Beneke from 3rd. Joshua Rogers on the front row, but they all have to bow down to the Polish driver Nikodem Wisniewski. He does well when he's ill, apparently. He's had a dislocated shoulder, won a race. He was sick, won a race, and he still remains to be sick. Maybe he's about to win another race. He has looked fantastic around the Nürburgring, Ewan. Maybe a win is on the cards for him. We'll have to wait and see, but pole position is exactly where he said he needed to start.
Yeah, and on the front row with him as well is Josh Rogers, by the way. Max Beneke won the Gamers 8 race here at Nürburgring by being in 3rd place, watching the 2 in front of him go off, and then taking the win from there. So don't count him out either. It's going to be a very, very interesting one indeed. But I mentioned my pick was Josh Rogers, and the main reason was because he can overtake even around this circuit. We know that it's hard around here, but he was able to do it despite running inside the top 6, decided to make a move on Bono House in semi-final number 2, and it paid off for him. He was the only driver really to do that, and that's why I think he's still in with a great chance of winning this one.
And what car does Bonnerhouse drive? It's a Mercedes. So Josh Rogers already knows how to pass a Mercedes around here, and that's exactly the same car that Nikodem Wisniewski drives. Sebastian Job, obviously, looking fantastic that day, but Eamon Murphy claiming that the car's not exactly up to the programme as to what we've seen from some of the other ones. There's Maximilian Benneker looking for another victory. I'll have to do a little bit of work to have done so, but it would be back-to-back victories for Benneker if he can do so. There's Kevin Ellis Jr. A little bit of a stat as well. If Benneker does win, if Josh Rogers wins, they will make history in becoming the first driver to pass 3 final victories in ESL R1. Of course, it's a slightly easier position for Rogers to do so from the front row of the grid.
Yeah, they'll also become the first drivers to take 5 wins at the Nürburgring as well in ESL R1, which would be a relatively unimportant milestone, but it's a milestone nonetheless. So let's see if Nikodem Wisniewski can take his first round win. It'd be great to see another round winner on the board of ESL R1, but what a job he has in front of him, and doesn't he just know it?
Yeah, obviously he's won an awful lot in his sim racing world. We said about the Le Mans virtual victory in 2020. They finished second in the championship in the year that followed, and they've won plenty of times. Let's see if this is the time for Wisniewski to come up to the top once again. We are underway for the final in ESL R1 round 4 at the Nürburgring. We head our way down to the first corner. It's a perfect launch from Nikodem Wisniewski. Maximilian Benneker straight to the inside of Josh Rogers, committing in deep. Sebastian Job makes contact with Benneker, and not for the first time in his sim racing career, and it's actually assisted Benneker to come through. Josh Rogers now with the inside line as they head their way through the Mercedes Arena section as the doors open for Luke Bennett to fight their way through. It remains second place for Maximilian Benneker. Josh Rogers losing out on the race start there, particularly in assistance from Sebastian Job.
And RHG have not had a good start to this one particularly. That's Toman and Chinchik who are stuck here really in the mid-pack. Toman just letting Job in there through the Mercedes Arena, but the action was up front. It's a good conversion from Nikodem Wisniewski. He's got Max Benneker behind him though, and I didn't see that coming, to be honest. The Mouse driver with a great start getting up to second. That's already given the Williams driver in the lead a bit of an advantage though.
Oh, a little bit of a squeeze there from Jamie Fluke on Kaiki Oliveira as well as they head their way through. Erhan Yovski staring at those two thinking, lads, let's not do this. Another bit of a squeeze on the exit of the Dunlop hairpin as they head their way through the Schumacher S. Unfortunately, Oliveira's results, I said in the finals, aren't that great. Despite having a great percentage of getting into them, just cannot nail that qualifying. That has been the thing for quite a few drivers this season, including Joshua Rogers, who definitely signed off his best qualifying in a final this season. It's been one of his major thorns in his side in the full season.
Yeah, it has on occasion, and it's put him into some difficult positions in the past. Running third at the moment, by the way, is Josh Rogers. Sebastian Job has lost a place off of this start. He's down to 5th. Luke Bennett up to 4th for the moment for Team Redline. Not a bad day at the Nürburgring for him, although not quite returning to the heights of winning races as he did back in the spring season so often here at the Nürburgring. Out onto the front straight again at the end of the opening lap. Nikodem Wisniewski has about 3/4 of a second on the field.
Yeah, it's actually an incredible start from Wisniewski, pulling away massively from Maximilian Benneker, obviously courtesy of some of the fighting going through that first complex, but it's just allowed Wisniewski to check out into the distance, see what Sebastian Job can do if he can work his way up the order. So a bit of a poor start, a tame start from the RHG duo in 6th and 7th. Obviously, Yovski's not involved in the mix. Yeah, very, very tough stuff indeed. Rogers is surely going to go for a move, though. We've seen him make moves around here before. You said it before. He can make overtakes happen. Just kind of put that move on the first lap into the past.
Yeah, you say that, but Benneker is in second at the moment, of course, and if Rogers goes for a move on him, I think that Wisniewski's going to get away with the race win. Now, it kind of depends on how much Rogers wants to actually win this round, or how much he just wants to take second away from the Mouse driver. At the moment, he doesn't look strong enough to do either, to be honest, but he's got to be careful that overtaking the German pretty much puts him into a position of fighting for second for the remainder of the race, and I think that'll be it. I don't think they'll get any further than that if the two start fighting.
Importantly, though, he will be outscoring Sebastian Job at this present point. We can see Job in 5th position. Our current points leader, retaken the points lead in the previous race after the victory. There's Luke Bennett, the one that's sandwiched between Sebastian Job and Joshua Rogers. Also, anyone who wants to know, when you kind of look at it, you think, how are RHG leading the championship by such an enormous margin? Well, the fact that they have 3 cars in this at the moment, and when you look at a lot of the other teams that are up there with them in the championship, for example, Porsche, they only have 1 car. Yes, sure, is in 3rd position, but they only have 1 car at the moment. Wisniewski, But Williams, they only have one car. Mouse, they only have one car. G2, guess what? They only have one car. RHG are doing this by numbers because they keep getting so many in the final. Yes, they're not challenging for victories, but they're so consistent at getting in the top 6.
And by the way, Yuri Toman certainly was challenging for the victory last week at Hockenheim. Very nearly got there as well. We can't be completely unfair to RHG, but yes, it is about the consistency. And don't forget, back at Spa a few weeks ago for round 2, I think they had all 4 in the final, didn't they? So it's been a very good season for them in that respect. The points work a bit differently this season, don't they, really? It's about the accumulation over the rounds. If you think about getting through into the top 6 of the knockouts and the semi-finals, you're going to accumulate a lot of points. Even if you finish in the bottom 4 of the final, that's still a good enough amount of points. That would give you more than 20 points as a team. If you got through the knockout rounds, that's nearly 40 points in both of the rounds. So, you're just looking at 100 points per round. And that's if you do the bare minimum getting through to the final. That's all you have to really do to accumulate points. You can almost do it by accident by just getting to finals.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that, to get to that point, yes, sure, you may not, like, for example, Kike Oliveira, right? He finds himself in basically, I think it's 12th position at the moment in the stands, might be in that kind of way. So that's 13th, wasn't it, coming into this race. But the reason why I find himself in that position is not, I've said his final results aren't that great, but he's been in the top 6 and you're scoring points being in the top 6 in the semi-finals and the quarterfinals. So he's just constantly working his way through. You're doing more races. The more races you do, the more points you score, effectively. That's what we're seeing here. And so, it's... we're seeing, to be fair, I've said it before, when it comes to the changes between the fall season and the spring season, I think the points and how that's all been adjusted is, for me, it's my favourite thing. I love the fact that we're giving out points in all 3 races now, because it just kind of means that there's a bit more for them to fight for, even if they struggle to fight around here. I mean, we wouldn't have got the Bonnehaus overtake from Josh Rogers when he got past Bonnehaus up into the 3rd position of the previous race, wouldn't we?
Exactly. It has created a bit of a different dynamic for us, which has been very entertaining so far, as Marcel Cinčić just looks at a move here on Sebastian Joe. Slides a bit wide there through turn 1. Can't quite do it, can the Hungarian, who'll stay behind for now as he looks for a top 5. Job seems to be struggling though. Best placed of the BMWs in qualifying, not so much anymore. Now Luke Bennett takes that honour, but Job is really holding up the field, really. Everybody else in the field back to 12th place is right up behind the G2 Esports driver.
And I was talking about this last night as well on the community streams when we were doing those. Again, look at the top 4. You've got the Williams car of Nikodem Wisniewski, Mercedes. You've got the Mouse car of Beneke. That's an Audi. You've got the Porsche of Josh Rogers, which is a Porsche, obviously. And you've got a BMW in the Team Redline driver of Luke Bennett. The top 4 are 4 different manufacturers. The balance of performance between all 4 of these cars is actually very good, and I'm enjoying it. Yes, I know Eamon Murphy was talking about, driving a car with 3 wheels and all that kind of stuff. There will be subtle differences, and subtle differences in the ESL R1 will make all of the difference. But, you win some, you lose some when it comes to, some of the rounds. Sebastian Job may have had the best car for the first 2 rounds of the season. That's why he won. Who knows? But that's just how it is. What we do know is the battle for the race lead is getting really close, and it's gone from, it was 0.8 of a second back down to 3. Beneke's closed right in.
It was over 3/4 of a second at one point, certainly. Now it's just 0.3. Rogers gets closer to Beneke as well. Bennett gets closer to Rogers. It's all heating up here in round 4 of ESL R1. Halfway mark in this race pretty much now complete. 3 temps separate 1 and 2. I think we could see a new fastest lap of the race this time around from Beneke. Nikodem Wisniewski holds it just for the moment, but I think that could change hands very soon as he closes on the front straight. Maybe he's even close enough for a dive at turn 1.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. There was no change of fast for that because I think the tyres are starting to go off from the entire grouping, maybe even more so for Nikodem Wisniewski, potentially even fatigue. I know these are short races, but they require so much concentration. When you're not feeling 100%, keeping that concentration can be so hard. And we know Wisniewski's feeling a little bit under the weather at the moment, but he's doing a fantastic job looking for his first victory in ESL R1. Of course, it would be a 3rd for the Williams Esports team. So at least they'd want to be ticking that one off of the list, as Maximilian Beneke charging all over the rear end, looking for a pathway to go through. I am absolutely sure Beneke's going to try something here. Of course, did come across the line as the winner at Spa before getting a post-race time penalty, but did reaffirm himself as one of the top drivers in the ESL R1 by taking a victory a week ago.
There is the onboard shot on the right-hand side of Wisniewski. I do just worry about the Williams Esports driver at the moment and the way he's starting to lose a bit of ground here. You know, he's not been in this position very often in terms of trying to win a round of ESL R1. Max Benneker certainly has. He's the only driver to have won in both spring and fall seasons so far in ESL R1, and he might well be on his way to a third round win. Wisniewski hasn't been in this position before, and that's concerning me a little bit in the way that he's driving, but he is still holding on to the lead for now. The German with plenty of time to try and take this lead away from him, though.
You say plenty, but with 3 laps around the Nürburgring, yes, there's plenty of times to find an opportunity to pass, but there's not too much time for Nikodem Wisniewski to have to defend. So, you know, it's swings and roundabouts, and every single corner you go past an opportunity that goes a begging. So, realistically, Benneker, it's now or never. I think Rogers' patience behind the rear of Benneker, even if he has had a move, an attempt for one, he's not gone for it, I think goes to your point of what you were saying earlier on. Do you want to win or do you want to finish in second? That's the important bit. Here we go, into the slipstream. Maximilian Benneker's closing up. We've got 3 laps left to go here in the Nürburgring. There is no opportunity for the German to get past the pole at the moment. There's contact between the pair in the first corner. There's contact even between second and third as they just brush over the nose of each other going into that first turn as the concertina effect takes full effect, really.
Yep, taking absolutely full effect right now. So Rogers behind Benneker. If I was him, if I was the Australian at the moment, by the way, I would be looking at a move here on Benneker. First of all, Bennett's quite close to Rogers at the moment. That's got to be of a little bit of concern. But also, if Benneker gets through on Wisniewski, then he's not going to be able to win the race anyway, because if Rogers has to do the same, then Benneker will be up the road by the time that Rogers is in second place. So if I was the Porsche Coanda driver, I would be fighting for that second place roundabout now, although they are running out of time. This is lap 6 of 8, so we haven't got too much time on our side at this point for Josh Rogers and Bennett as well, who's starting to run out of laps to win this race. But as we mentioned earlier, you really do need to be in the top 2 at points to win these rounds.
One of my favourite quotes from the world of cycling, something more up your neck of the woods, Ewan, which was in the Olympic Games back in Tokyo, which was in the women's road race, which was to win the race, you have to be ready to lose the race, and that does take effect here. For Maximilian Benneker, if he is ready to win this race, to make a move on Nikodem Wisniewski, he knows that he's got to take the risk, which might open the door for him to lose it, right? And to lose all of it. That's kind of like, yeah, if he takes that risk and goes down the inside, he might lose out to Rogers here. He has to be settled in himself. If he is going to go for it, he might finish third, but he might just win. And it's those risks that you need to take advantage of.
Yeah, and the difference is, though, is that what you're referring to there is a one-off event. Gamers 8 was a one-off event. This is a championship. Will Rogers want to risk it all in the name of a round win here? Because it is a championship. You do need to accumulate the points, and Benneker at the moment has more than him. So will he want to risk it all? I'm not entirely sure, and based on that viewing, I don't think he is on the penultimate lap. Big dives further back, by the way, as Marcel Cintic tries to make a move on Sebastian Job.
It was Job actually going a bit deep. He was going right for the apex into the first corner, turning in very early. There's a mistake there from Josh Rogers. Whoa, he managed to catch that one before bringing it back onto the racing line. There was no opportunity for Luke Bennett to make his way through, but there is some pressure being dealt out here in the final in round 4. It's just where that pressure is really coming from at the moment. Nikodem Wisniewski's absorbing it beautifully. Sebastian Job's looking a little bit sketchy.
Well, it's getting close now. Penultimate lap of the race. Rogers still third at the moment here for Porsche Coanda Esports. He's got deep into the corner again. This time it's the hairpin, and really he's running out of laps now. 1.5 laps remaining. I do wonder whether Benneker has really just played this one to keep Rogers at bay, stay in that second place, and at the end of this race, is he going to strike? Wisniewski's still leading though.
Yeah, Rogers wants to join Maximilian Benneker in the history side of things by taking a win in the fall season and the spring season. But of course, if Rogers or Benneker win, then it will put them at the most wins in a final overall, which would be 3. No one has won 3 finals as of yet. We have a few drivers on 2. Dara McCormack, of course, being one of those. Josh Rogers, Maximilian Benneker being the other couple. So there is the opportunity for them to have done so now, as in the background it's tight. Marcel Cintic and Sebastian Job still remaining very tight. As here we go, is this Josh Rogers' opportunity as we head on to the final lap of the race?
Benneker didn't have a good run through the final chicane there at all, and Rogers might have the chance for second. He's right on the back of the German. Here's Josh Rogers. He's in the slipstream of the Audi. He'll close in with that Porsche. The straight line speed not quite as good, of course. Will Rogers have a look to the inside? He certainly will, but Benneker holds him off for now. So Nikodem Wisniewski goes on to the last lap, still in the lead.
Yeah, you can only brake as late as you can, and the pair of those were on the absolute limit into the first corner. Rogers trying to make something stick on Maximilian Benneker, but on that occasion it's not. Big slide there from Nikodem Wisniewski as they head through the Mercedes Arena section. They depart T4 and the run down towards T5, and the advantage is at 0.3 of a second from to Maximilian Benneker. We'll have to see if Wisniewski can hang on right now. It's got to be a bold move from Benneker if it is going to come, but at the moment I'm not seeing that opportunity. I'm seeing exactly what we saw in the semi-finals. Benneker is just not there enough.
No, he's not, but Wisniewski is really sliding around at the moment, I should say, and that is making me worry a little bit for him. Is the pressure just getting to him here? The pressure will be so much weighing on his shoulders right now as well. Max Benneker will close in again. Up the Schumacher-S they go. It's a nice run through from the Audi. The purchase off the corner is not bad from the Mercedes. Now a really important chicane coming up for both. First turn 10, the left-hander. Then turn 11, the all-important right-hander. Benneker needs a huge run-off of here if he wants to take round 4.
Yeah, we come down to the NGK chicane. We go through Ab Van Bogen. The advantage is to the pole. Is it the driver that grabbed that pole position? Is the driver that's feeling slightly under the weather? The driver that's looking for his first win in ESL R1. The look down the inside from Maximilian Benneker. The look down the inside from Joshua Rogers, who's going to send it in for second place. That'll confirm Wisniewski is the victor as he comes his way through. There is the move from Rogers in the background. He's just trying to find his way past. Doesn't do so. And with all of that, Wisniewski comes through the final corner to add yet another win to his sim racing accolades. It is ESL R1. It is Wisniewski on top of the Nürburgring, and Williams are back to the winner's circle. It's fantastic from Wisniewski. He did it in qualifying with that amazing lap in qualifying, taking pole position, had to fend off from all those behind, and he managed to take his victory. Incredible drive right there, and the pressure he dealt with, amazing. Obviously, Rogers was there alongside him on the front row of the grid, but could not make his way past, in fact lost out on the race start.
Exactly, and that maybe put paid to his chances a little bit. You do wonder a little bit, where would he have got to if he'd have held on to second? Of course, there's a number of what-ifs that come from that race, and all races in fact, but it really is important that holding on to that second position. I do think he could have taken it if he'd have got there, but this was the all-important moment. Down in towards turn 1 on the opening lap. Benneker was just later on the brakes than Rogers, straight into the side of him, by the way. I don't think Rogers was too pleased about that. He was still able to hold the inside through 2 and 3, but would eventually lose out.
Yeah, we didn't quite see that, 100% from our live angle. It's brilliant, by the way, covering off from Maximilian Benneker into turn 3 and 4. That was a bit aggressive from Benneker in the first corner, maybe a little bit over the line. Hopefully, it's not going to be yet another round where Benneker picks up a penalty, but we'll have to wait and see. Rogers was trying everything to make his way through. Was looking at every opportunity. It was the NGK chicane where he gave one final go on the last lap, but I mean, Benneker was dealing with a lot in that race. He was looking forward to trying to make his way through for the race lead and was having to fend off from one of sim racing's very best. And to be fair, did so brilliantly. Rogers did give a couple of goes.
Yeah, he did. Nothing too major. I think what we were talking about in regards to do you want to fight for the race win here or not kind of came into play. But even so, he couldn't get through in the end, even after going for those late moves. I don't think there was anything over the line, to be honest, from Benneker in the first lap of this race. It did fluster Rogers a little bit. You saw that moment, him going a little bit wide there. This was the big one into the final turn. He dives very late, and to be fair to Benneker, he gives him the room. A tighter line off the corner as well, shows Rogers to the outside, and that's exactly what he had to do to hold on to that second place.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a bold attempt at that final chicane, but it was exciting. They all, though, finished behind Nikodem Wisniewski, who is joined by Jasmine now.
Thank you very much for that, fellas. A pleasure as always. Nikodem, congratulations are in order. How are you feeling after that race?
Yeah, really good. I'm always trying to judge my performance, not the result, and I'm really happy about my performance of the weekend. So yeah, I mean, I scored first, second, first, so really good. A shame that I couldn't pass Seb Job in the semi-final. That would be triple win, but I'm just speechless. Like it was great round, great lap in the quali, so really happy about it. Shame that I was the only one in the final from our team, but I score a good amount of points, so yeah, really happy about it.
Well, you mentioned being very happy with your performance so far, but usually when people say they're feeling unwell or something's wrong or something's going wrong for them, they tend to perform badly as well. But for you, it seems like it's the complete opposite of that. Is that a coincidence, or do you think it is genuinely just putting your mind at ease a little bit heading into races?
Might be coincidence, but it happened
too many
second
times.
Time. Yeah, so I don't really know. Maybe I like bigger challenges. But yeah, I mean, I was struggling a bit in the beginning of the season to make a good lap in the quali, because I knew that my pace was always there at all tracks. Here I could show it, so yeah, I mean, from that lap, I don't think I could do any better. It was very close to my PB, so yeah, really happy about it.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you did get surgery for your shoulder as well, right? So no more popping out, hopefully?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm trying to be back in shape. It was 3 months ago, 3.5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like our rehab takes like 5 or 6 to be back in sport, to play football, for example. But for driving is now I have a little bit lighter horse feedback.
Now, how was the transition? Because obviously coming back from surgery to then stepping back into the sim rig, was there any particular routine or warm-ups that you would use before getting back into the rig?
Yeah, of course. I'm doing exercises almost, maybe not every day, but every 2 days to be back in shape. So yeah, had to really control my movements to not get that thing again. But yeah, I think that break helped me a bit. I'm now a bit more happy that I'm driving, like, you know, not even looking at the results, but also be here. I really wanted to be there for the mid-season event. Unfortunately, I couldn't. So yeah, I'm trying to take the best from now from all the races. So yeah.
And how about from feeling sick yesterday? You feeling better today?
Yeah, of course, much better. To be honest, yesterday morning I thought that I'm not gonna be able to race. It was so bad. I had a stomach flu, so it was, you know, really awful. But yeah, I mean, it went a bit better in the evening, and today I feel really good.
I promise you, this whole interview is not going to be all doom and gloom about you getting sick, but I want to focus a little bit more about your standings. Previously, for the Spring Major, you were 15th in the Drivers' Championship. At the start of today, you were 14th in the Drivers' Championship, and no doubt that has only gone up. What is the game plan for yourself as an individual to continue climbing the standings?
Well, I mean, my goal is to get the best performance every round. I mean, you know, sometimes you have the knockouts that they are super fast, sometimes they are a bit slower, so you can't really judge from the results, I think, because if you look at the time, sometimes the pole position is P5 in the other grid and all other way around. So I'm trying always to judge my performance, and if my performance is good and I'm happy about it, then yeah, everything is in the right direction. When I feel that I missed something in the quali, I think like in my first knockout here at NURB, it was just a decent lap. I don't think it was any better than at Hockey, but at Hockey I drop out in the first knockout. Here I get the pole and the win. So yeah, that balance is not here. It's not there because of how tight is the competition, how different is track to track and the car BOP as well. Of course, the BOP is super close, but still, you know, we are always talking about half-10 margin as we saw in most of the qualies. So yeah, I mean, look, I'm just hoping that at the standings I'll be able to fight for the overall victory. Of course, that's my goal, but I'm trying to do it step by step and score some good points first.
Well, on that note, is there anything you want to say to your teammates or anybody watching right now that has been supporting yourself and the rest of the boys?
Yeah, I want to thanks for the support for the whole season and season before. Also during my rehab, I think the team was supporting me really well, and of course it's not like I'm forgetting about it since I started to drive. It's really good to be part of the team that take care of yourself. That's something more important than the results at the end.
That is wholesome content, a beautiful shout out as well. Thank you so much for joining me, Nicodem.
Thank you.
I'm here for it, man. There we have it. Nicodem, despite being unwell, yet again has made it happen. He said it might have been a coincidence. I don't know about you, Lewis, but I think he just doesn't want to give away all of his secrets.
Well, maybe he was sick when he beat me in a championship back in the day. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, look, maybe
you just lost a few tenths off your age. You know, that's.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, me and Nick are about the same age. Don't you start? No, I think he'll try and plan on maybe being ill for Sweden. To be fair, you know, he's sure he's got to now.
No more popping shoulders, though.
No,
Please.
Thankfully not, because that's icky.
It was icky and a little bit scary as well. But Lewis, talk to me overall during that race. Did it pan out as expected? Because I'm pretty sure none of us had predicted that Nicodem would take away the victory.
No, but from if you kind of look at it at qualifying, his qualifying lap was incredible, and that's what put him in that position. And like I say, translated the race start really well. There was a bit of fighting behind from Beneke getting down the inside of Rogers, which actually relieved the pressure in the opening portion of the race. It was a brilliantly orchestrated race from Wisniewski. I think the only thing that's up in the air a little bit about the race results is Beneke, who I think might be having a little bit of a question from race control on that move at T1.
Oh, he's certainly going to be on edge about that one as well. What did you make of Bennett's performance from today? Because I know I started off today's broadcast saying that, you know what, Luke Bennett, this could be the moment that he brings it back. I got to say, yes, he didn't manage to win a race, but I certainly think, you know, slowly but surely we're on an upwards trajectory.
Yeah, by the way, getting told, by the way, the results have been sorted from race control, so this is how it is. I agree. I think Bennett actually did really, really well. Really, really solid to have put himself in that position. It's been a bit of a struggle start to the season from Team Redline, but getting himself inside that top 5 with a 4th place finish, yeah, it's moving him up in the championship. And I guarantee that Luke Bennett will be contending for the title in Sweden, for sure.
Is that a guarantee?
Guarantee. Lewis McGlade guarantee. Boom. Stick it in.
What do we put on the line for this Lewis McGlade guarantee? Something. We'll find something.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say something about CSGO, but I was like, no one wants to 1v1 me in CSGO.
No, it'll be way too easy of a win. And how about for some of our drivers towards the bottom end of the driver championship so far? Obviously, Jeffrey Rietveld is certainly going to be a little bit frustrated with how the final decision was made today. Do you see him bringing it back for next week's races?
Yeah, I mean, he's shown some really good pace, and the frustrations for those really come from that qualifying. I think he will work his way forward. But there is someone on this list, or that's not on this list rather, which was James Baldwin, who will be finding himself 25th, 26th in the standings. After that segment, he's one that I still think will absolutely get in the top 24. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think I constantly keep coming back to this point because I'm genuinely in shock. Like, at the spring major, during the spring season as well, it was constantly this Team Redline and R8G face-off. Right now, it just feels like R8G is absolutely dominating the competition. And from my perspective, do I think that Williams has what it takes to play catch-up with them? I'm not entirely sure. Are you convinced that they can?
No, I think it sounds boring, but I think R8G. The thing is if you look at this round, R8G, in my opinion, honestly, looked sort of average compared to where they normally are, and they still had 3 cars in the final, and they still managed to hold this 200-point lead. And if you're doing that on a day where you look kind of average, like at no point was yes, obviously I picked Marcel Chinchik to win, but they didn't really look super convincing through the day that it was going to be them taking the victory. And yet still, they are so comfortable in that. We're halfway through the team's championship because, of course, it ends in round 8. I just don't see any team building that consistency to take them on.
But now my question for you is, do you think R8G having as big of a lead as they do so far is going to lead to all of our drivers focusing on their individual performances for Drivers' Championship? Or do you think Team Championship is still very much what they've got their eyes set on?
I actually think the fact that they've got such a strong championship lead is really, really good for them, obviously. Yes, obvious point. But I think because it does mean that they can just focus on the Drivers' Championship. Because the Teams' Championship is kind of like, look, if you just focus on the Drivers' Championship, effectively, you're probably going to win the Teams' Championship anyway from this point with such a large lead, even if you're taking all of those risks and pushing it too far. So I think it's absolutely... I don't even think that they'll be thinking about the Teams' Championship anymore. It is just Drivers for the next 4 rounds. Try and make sure that all of them can go through into Sweden, because if all 4 go into that point, into the final, then yeah, they're definitely winning the Team Championship.
Now, what about the drivers from all of the other teams? Because last time we would quiz them about this, they didn't want to give too much away about their strategy and what the approach was, and it was very much like, we're working as a team, we're focusing on the Team Championship, and I feel like that's a very PR response. But do you think that is very much going to be the case for them now? Is everybody going to be focusing on Team Championship, or do you think we're going to start to see a little bit of selfishness coming through?
Well, weirdly, it's got that effect of, because RHG are so far ahead, a lot of the teams will know that they're too far ahead, so they'll be focusing on finishing second in the Teams Championship. And to be fair, they'll be focusing mostly on, on the driver side of things. I mean, this is a driver-focused season championship anyway, just with how it works. So you do have to just focus on yourself regardless. But I think generally across the board, no one's really thinking about the Teams Championship quite as much from a team perspective. They are focused purely on the drivers because of how strong RHG are. So, God damn you, RHG. Too strong, too good.
They definitely are. But you know what? I'm super excited for the next set of racing we're going to be having. Any final words from you, Lewis? Any shout-outs or anything like that?
Just one, and everyone's got to get their screenshots ready, okay? Right? 3, 2, 1. Boom, go for it. Bam. Get the screenshots done, get it done, post it in the Epic Games Store, get yourself on Rennsport, go and beat that awful lap time that Dara McCormack set with the actually very good guidance from Brzezinski around the Hockenheim ring. I thought that lap was actually pretty good. I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, I'd certainly be happy with it as well.
I was blindfolded.
But
I wasn't blindfolded.
I've just sent in my final code in the chat as well, so people can go ahead and redeem that one as well. From my side, it's been an absolute blast to be back on the broadcast. Man, oh man, have I missed you guys. I've missed the sim racing, I've missed all of the chaos and the drama as well. And I just want to give a huge shout out to yourself, Lewis, and also Ewan, and of course our fantastic production team for putting this show together and making it what it is today. So from me and everybody else that's here, thank you and good night.